Welcome to another edition of the King Kong Trail. I'm Doug Vandiver, sitting by my bride, Amy Vandiver.
Hello.
And next to me, a good friend, Chad Carr. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
It is good to finally get you on here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've sent you. I know, at least know I've intended to send you a few emails saying, hey, get on here.
You've been on our list. You're on our list, man.
You mentioned it to me back when you were starting it that you were considering having me on, you know, and I was like, oh, man, absolutely, give me a holler.
Getting the time, I think. But,
yeah.
I
hear that.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And I've been kind of keeping track of some of your stuff that's going on Facebook. I love Facebook that way.
Yes, me too.
You know everybody's business.
Absolutely. And I have no problem sharing mine.
And
you know?
It's like, yeah, you've got a lot of stuff going on. So we wanted to get you on and talk a little bit about that since it's freaking cold outside.
Yeah, right.
and you know, I kind of feel like this is the season for musicians to start getting ready for spring and summer
to come. Yes, we're looking forward to that and hoping more bars will start opening up and allowing some live events.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easier when the bars can have us outside in the summertime. So yeah, we're definitely gearing up for that. And yeah, we've been doing a lot of writing, taking advantage of the fact that we're not real busy gigging right now. As a band, so we're doing more writing. We have a lot of new songs. I mean, we've got another album's worth of material. So we're excited about that.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about it. Let's go way back.
Way back.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I remember yesterday, Doug. We could have some problems here.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast. We're in good company here.
Take me back.
I went back to when I met you.
Okay.
I would say it was probably darn near 10 years ago, I think. You and Travis Reed came to a church that I was going to and serving with.
Yes, the Outpost.
The Outpost on Saturday nights.
Doing those.
Yeah. That was such fun.
Such fun.
And
Travis, such a great player.
Oh,
Travis and I, we could get together right now and just glue, play, because we grew up playing together. So, such a special player.
And I didn't know that about you guys played together.
Yeah, the last few years of high school, we were played in a band together, and then as grown-ups, we did some band stuff together. I'd moved to Iowa City and had another band, an indie punk band. And I liked playing punk more than blues, and that kind of is where it separated. I had more fun playing faster stuff, Not that I don't enjoy blues. As I've gotten older, I'm enjoying it a little more, but there's only so many shuffles, you know what I mean?
I hear you're not a fan of 4/4. You kind of like to.
Yeah,
I think I've been to an Autumn's Waiting show. They're like, all right, now this is a song that's not in 4/4. This is for.
Yeah, he says that. He says that. I mean, if he was really going to write one for me, it'd be in 5 or 7 because I enjoy 5 really a lot. I mean, but. Yeah, nobody danced to it, though. That's the problem. It's like,
what do you do on the fifth beat?
I want people to dance to it. So I get 6/8. So at least they can still dance in an even number, right?
There you go. So tell me, how did you get started playing the drums? Where did that all start with you?
In church. It all started with my grandfather was a big band fan. He listened to a lot of, he was World War II vet, and he was always listening to Benny Goodman, and I didn't really grow an appreciation for it until I saw the Gene Krupa movie as a little boy. And the movie was about the drummer of Benny Goodman's band, and he was so flamboyant, he was handsome, all the women loved him. Everybody respected him, and he had this story to his life where his dad was a real strict Catholic man, and he wanted his son to be a priest. And up till he died, he hated that Gene was a drummer. He became the most famous drummer in the world. He made drums a actual out front instrument. He took solos, and here this guy had a movie written about him, and I'm this young little boy like. This is having an impact on me, right? And so, I got the opportunity to start playing in church, and I learned a lot from the older ladies. I also learned how to play quiet. You know what I mean? I knew that if the piano player and the organ player didn't turn around and look at me, That meant I was doing good. They didn't have to pat me on the back. They didn't have to tell me later on, you did great. If they didn't look at me, I was doing great.
I think playing in churches, and I didn't grow up in church, but playing in the churches for the times that I have, it has always been a battle of that drummer playing a little too loud.
It's always that. That's why you see them they usually put them in a cage. Hang a sign, don't feed the animals.
Even if he's playing electronic drums, they'll put glass in front of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny when they do that.
That's horrible. That is just pathetic. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and I get it, because generally churches, the acoustics are really loud, and it's amplification. You go putting anything amplified in there. Drums are definitely moving a lot of air, and it's loud. And cymbals aren't forgiving either, right? So I grew up playing, with brushes right away, and playing with really thin, light jazz sticks. Anything that could help me, control that ride cymbal. I remember that the ride cymbal was always that was the hardest one when I was a kid, to keep it from getting away from me in volume.
Right.
Well, it's all the name ride. It's going to take you somewhere.
And I remember that, and I teach with that right in the forefront of my mind. I've been teaching for so long, but I make sure students are aware of how to keep control of that ride. It's all in your hands,
right.
And it's.
What are those sticks? And I think
hot rods.
Yes, they look like little dowels.
Yep, little dowels.
I think those were.
They don't last long, You'll be. I remember when I started using them in church when. Let me think. Late '80s, probably. Yeah, late '80s. And ProMark came out with them probably in the mid '80s, somewhere around there. And I'd be playing, and wood chips were flying around. You know what I mean? They come back in the head. But then you knew you were playing too loud too.
Right.
There's
when there's no stick left, then it's just.
Yeah, I was blessed. My dad was really musical. I mean, and he would, if he were sitting right here, he'd be like, "What are you talking about?" My dad was a great guitar player, and he would never tell you that. He grew up a worship leader, he's a really good singer, and he was a Roy Clark, Chet Atkins style player, so he could pick really well. Self-taught. I'm self-taught. I never took a lesson in my life, and he never did either. I just watched, and it was just things came naturally to me pretty quick, and they did to him too. He would never... He doesn't like to talk about it, but he had arthritis set in when I was young, probably in high school, so he hasn't really played since then. But as a kid, I'd catch him on my drums. I'd come home with, from my buddies, and so we'd go in the bedroom, and there's my dad. Boom, chick, kick drum, hi-hat, and he's playing guitar, just some country licks and stuff over top of it. His eyes are shut. He don't even know we're there. But those are just cool little memories, to look back and go, yeah, those did have influence on me. And my dad, he was a huge country and gospel fan, and my mother is a Motown nut. And so, and Grandpa being more of the big band music, I just had music around me that was very diverse. I never really was down with hymns, though obviously hymns taught me how to play in three. He played a lot of three, played a lot of six, right? But I wouldn't say necessarily. I just was always happy to have the opportunity even to play in church. And even now as an adult, I don't look at playing in bars the same as I do playing in church. When somebody comes up to me and tells me I did well at church, that means so much more to me than the drunk at the bar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not bashing him. I've been the drunk at the bar. But everybody sounds better when they're drunk. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Everybody looks
I can't
better,
even
too.
begin to tell you how many guys I've played with that at the end of the show, they're like, that was awesome. I'm like, no, it was awesome until that third shot. Then it went So, yeah. So, yeah, I started young, and my dad couldn't afford me a drum set. So playing at church was the only time I really got to play on an actual drum set. I had a practice pad at home. I'd set pillows up on the edge of the bed, and my feet were on the pedal. My feet are fast because I didn't have pedals under them. I actually learned to play all the notes like a tap dancer, and it just applied once I got pedals and made things easier.
Do you have that nervous leg tick that every drummer seems to have?
When I'm trying to sit still?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can't sit still.
It shakes the whole house.
I used to get in trouble for playing rhythms on my books, and, pencil. I'd have the pencils and be jamming, and then it'd have another kid would join me. They wanted to play along, and
Yeah.
report cards are always Chad likes to talk, and Chad's always noodling or making noise,
Fidget's a little too much.
Yeah, definitely did. I'm hyper. I've definitely had the energy to be a drummer, which is great. Now that I'm 45, I'll be 46 in April, and I still have very much a young kid's brain. But man, I'll tell you what, the body is not feeling young, not at all.
I can hear you on
Yep. And I go and I work out, and I try to do my thing, to take care of it. But you're getting older.
It's harder when you're older. I had a weight loss surgery done over a year ago.
Right.
Dropped 100 pounds.
Wow.
But I'm still not in shape, and I've still got some weight to go. I'm happy with what I'm at.
Absolutely.
But I try to tell my kids it's hard to chase it when you're getting my age. Trying to chase it now, it's easier to do when you're young.
You can go catch the weight machine over there and start working out over there.
Yeah.
Well, it does take small. I'll tell you what helps me is I journal. I keep a journal, and I started that. I started it probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then I got away from it for a little while, and I realized, well, so was my life getting away from me, just like I had gotten away from the journal. I was like, not inspired, I would say. The journal inspires me. I look back at the day before or even the week before with workouts or things I've been doing drum-wise, because I keep track of that too in my journal.
Okay.
It's all in here, and it's inspiring. Those nights I don't want to go to the Y. Those nights I don't want to spend 2 hours rehearsing. I go to this, and I pull up the journal, and I read the day before, and I see what all I accomplished in an hour and a half or 2 hours of practice, and I go, okay, that's what it's for.
So, do you type it out?
Type it out I type it in the notepad. Yep, okay. I keep track of it on there, and then I can email it to myself. I'll tell you what, it just really, I keep track of everything. If what I read out of the Bible, I'll keep track of that. Conversations or things that I throughout the day or thoughts I might have had, I might put them down so I can revisit them. I'm not writing verbatim everything that's happening. I just don't want you to think that.
I put on my seatbelt. I turn the nothing like that.
No, nothing like that. I keep my weight, like my workout stuff is very much like that. It's very tracked and everything's, and I look back to the week before that very day, what I did, +1, +4, whatever, reps wise. If I were able to max out more, whatever the case may be, it's tracked pretty well. That way it's inspiring me. It's not so much about going, oh, looky what I did. It's more about that personal thing of going, well, yeah, you could take this day off, but look what you accomplished when you went and when you applied yourself, and don't you feel mentally better? Because working out really is more about, for me at 45, I'm sore from it, but I'll tell you what, mentally I feel great. You know what I mean? My mind's sharp. I'm witty. I've got the mindset of very much of a young person, if only my body would be there,
I'm still 16.
I
don't know where.
How are you pulling that off with that beard, boy? I'll tell you, that's an epic 16-year-old beard.
See my 15-year-old.
Yeah, he's got the scruff, and when he shaves it, it's just like
beard.
Oh, is he getting it? Yeah.
He's so funny. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's a good idea though, because you can, I journal, and I found a journal that my friend gave me when we graduated a long time ago, and she wrote me a letter in it, and it wasn't one of the journals I used. I'm like, oh, so I've been writing her. I found it in 2014, which wasn't the year I graduated, but so I've been writing in it since 2014, and I'm getting ready to mail it to her.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I'm kind of excited for her to get it. And then I'm hoping in a few years, I'm not going to say you have to give it right back, but I'm hoping she writes in it and then send it to me. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a really cool
idea. She's my best friend from kindergarten on.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
She's in Washington, D.C. now. She's super smart and does super smart things over there.
Super smart things.
You don't love her.
I don't think I could handle living there, though. I'm telling you that. There's no way. Yeah, I mean,
fun to visit, but good to come back home here.
I can visit. I gotta come back home here. Things are much better here in the Midwest. Than
the traffic's so much better.
Oh, you betcha. I don't like that many people, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I get around crowded people, and that's another thing that I think that's good about. I'm a personable person. I love people. Okay, I love being with people and things, but I'm not a front man. That was not my. I'm not a glory hound guy that wants to be up front. I like the fact that I'm back behind the drum kit and you can hear me and I can do my thing and impress you from there. Versus you having the spotlight directly in my face, and And another cool thing though, I guess, musically was, and I grew up singing with my grandma in church. She was a gospel singer, and she'd travel around and do like the full gospel businessmen's was a big thing back in the day. She traveled and did all these like retreats and things, and I'd sing with her on some of them and at church and things growing up. So that's the thing people don't realize is I actually sing too, and I'm singing I'm singing backup, singing harmonies and stuff. And Dave says, "Dude, you actually can sing, man."
I love Dave.
Dude, I'll tell you what. Nobody ever asked me if I could sing. You guys know I sang all growing up in church. It's they just assume the drummer's not going to sing, and It's like, I'm enjoying singing. But generally there's somebody in the band that's had the same vocal range, and I've not had to. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like in Autumn's Waiting. I mean, I'd say Jesse and my vocal range is in the same area, and you know what I say? He's not doing anything cardio, and my whole thing's cardio. So he can sing. He'd laugh if he heard that, and he probably smacked me too. But he's done a really good job since he started, kind of stepping up, and we encouraged him to do it. We're like, hey, why don't you start? Chad and Jared sang really well together, and even when Jared joins us and jams with us and stuff, he'll still stop by and jam, and the two of them just sound so good together, and I miss that about their vocal and their harmony. But Jesse's done a really good job, and I don't feel there's really a space for my vocal and my vocal range in there at the same time, and I'm the busy guy.
So you don't have a Beth song?
No, I don't. Not yet. Don't give him any ideas to write one either. That's funny. No, Chad's such a great singer. There's no way I could take that spot. No way. That guy, I don't know how.
Chad, the other Chad.
The other Chad, yeah, McCleary. I don't know how he wears many hats. I mean, the guy's a brilliant songwriter, a lyricist, and he plays rhythm, he plays lead, and he's singing.
Well, I'll tell you what, hold that thought. We're
Yeah.
we're gonna take a quick break for reset the camera, and then we'll pick up with
Sounds good.
some Autumn's Waiting stuff.
And welcome back. We are here with Chad Carr, our friend, and Doug and me.
Doug and me. Sounds like a Nickelodeon show. Doug and me.
Oh, we could be a Nickelodeon
Hey, Arnold.
show family. Oh, there was a Doug. Doug
You're
Funny.
right, there was a Doug.
Doug's
Yeah.
funny in his dog park.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wasn't it
You wouldn't-
Patty?
I don't
Maybe
think
that's
you
why I
would
thought
let me
that.
be Quail Man walking around with my underwear on the back, on the outside of my clothes. And
I'd like to see it at least once.
challenge accepted.
Got a video of that.
Okay, you were saying over here something besides that.
Well, we started talking a little bit about going in.
Yeah, I started
Autumn's
to
Waiting.
mention Chad and everything, but let's backtrack. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to get too far ahead here. Let's go back to, you asked me about how things got started. I got really serious musically. I like kind of got out of, I was still playing at church, but I wasn't like practicing like I had been when I was younger, like with a pad and everything. I was really focused on baseball. It was good. I loved baseball,
What position did you play?
skateboarding, shortstop. And I was more focused on that at the time. And I hadn't really got the chance to actually play with any great rock players. Like, I was playing with an old lady on an organ and another old lady on the piano. Great players. They really were. They had an incredible, impeccable time. So, learning to play with them was a blessing, no doubt. But getting that first taste of playing with a rock band, you know what I mean? It's like, going to West Burlington. I transferred to West Burlington beginning of my junior year. And Travis Reed and I hooked up. And Travis wasn't even playing guitar yet. Travis was singing. He was just a singer. And he had already had a little rock band, and their drummer had quit. And that's how I finagled my way in. Because I was the new kid in school, but I also played, right? And Travis Perry, Travis.
Yep.
Travis was a year older than me. And Travis really...
So what year was
This was 92.
92?
Wait. Yeah.
See this?
This would have been August of 92.
Okay.
When I was starting my junior year of at
So
West
did you
Burlington.
graduate in 93?
I graduated in 94.
94, okay.
See, and I don't remember, and this would explain it why I never heard Travis Reed play, but up until you guys started playing at church.
Oh, you'd never heard him before?
I've never heard him before.
Oh, wow.
I never even heard the name. It's like, ooh, Travis Reed's here. It's like, okay, who's that?
Right.
Because around that 92, 93, 94, I was off in the Navy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I didn't know any of the local
Sure.
kid talent.
Sure. Yeah, we were just peons. Travis and I got together. We had a guitar player, Sean Marmion, and then the great Micah Olson, who plays bass with Eric Pettit. And Micah was our bass player in our band, and our first band was Toy Hero. Great name, right? Total 90s sounding name for a band, Toy Hero. Okay, we thought it was a great name at the time, and the way it looked like it said
anime.
It looked like it said Tav Hebo, because what I did was I spray painted my kick drum head. I took it off and spray painted it black.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took an X-Acto knife and scraped away the lettering so it said Toy Hero. But when you stood back a ways, it didn't look like it said Toy Hero. It looked like it said Tav Hebo. And all our friends called us Tav Hebo. But Travis picked up the guitar probably 6 months into us starting that band, like actually me joining the band, and then them getting Marmion, and we got he picked up the guitar. I think Brian Plath played for us for a short bit, and then he left and Travis started playing guitar. But Travis started taking lessons from Needler over at the Pro Shop. And yeah, Travis was playing Metallica, Megadeth. That's what we were playing. We were into Anthrax and all the hard rock stuff. He hadn't discovered blues yet. And I'm this guy who's grown up only playing drums in church, and now I'm playing in a rock band. And I'm just having the day. I don't have to worry about being too loud. It's like, this is heaven.
You can use real sticks.
I don't even
You can
care
use
that
real
I don't
sticks.
necessarily listen to this music or like it, because I didn't. I was more of a Police fan because they had more of the jazzy stuff. I enjoyed a lot of that stuff, and Depeche Mode and Tears for Fears, bands like that. I'm still huge fans of. Jane's Addiction was my favorite band growing up. They're still my favorite band. As far as influencing me, they taught me that there was no bounds to music. And you listen to a Jane's Addiction album, every song sounds like they just went on a whole nother journey. It's like, am I listening to the same band here? If it wasn't for Perry's voice, you wouldn't know. If you took his voice out of there, the instrumental stuff just sounds completely different song to song. And that spoke to me as an artist. I realized, drumming isn't just... Gene really had it right back in the Benny Goodman days. He brought the drums out front, and he played so flamboyantly free, and that's how he became who he was, and that's what he died being known for. Buddy Rich became known for being the greatest drummer and the fastest drummer. Gene was the most musical drummer, and that's what I aspired to, because Steve Perkins of Jane's Addiction, to me, is the most beautiful rock drummer, and nobody ever gives him the credit because they might not listen to Perry's voice. Kind of like Rush, and people don't listen to Rush because they don't like Geddy's voice.
Right.
Kind of that same thing. Perry's voice, I get it. Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, I'm a huge fan of the band and his voice, but not everybody gets it, right? Mm-hmm. And then they miss out on the artistry of the great musicians that are in that band. And Steve Perkins, to me, was one of the ones that taught me, and he reminded me of Gene. He was influenced by big band. You'd hear it in the Tom stuff he did. You listen to Mountain Song. You listen to 3 Days. Any of those songs that are so tribal and Tom-driven, and it sounds like big band. So it has that driven, and it's like he brought it into that rock thing. So that was new to me. That really opened my eyes to some artistic freedom as a drummer. But then you have to learn to harness that too, and keep it in time, and that's
important for a drummer.
That's the important part as a drummer, And so yeah, high school did that. Before graduating, actually, I got asked by a band here in town called Flood to come and try out their drummer, who I am good friends with. I became good friends with him when I replaced him, which we're getting to, but. I replaced him. He went to the Air Force, and then I moved to Iowa City with him. Well, Travis, and him and I were so close and everything, but he started going off and was playing. Started playing guitar. He got an opportunity to play with a country band called Quicksilver. This is back 95, 96. I'm just out of high school. He's a senior maybe, or just out of high school. It's right there because he's a year younger than me. And, I may have consumed some things, some brain cells over the years. But
no, rock and roll.
No, rock and roll. I can't even remember a lot of it. Travis could remember every detail. That man has never drank, never done drugs. He is truly... I really can't say a bad thing about that guy. I mean, he's got a heart of gold.
He is a sweetheart.
He's an absolute sweetheart, and I'll be darned if music and he lives the guitar. Just he picks it up and it sounds differently, right? I mean, it just there's something different when he plays that guitar and he's playing blues. He can he can play one note and keep it for, you can listen and play one note 16 bars and you'd be like, you felt every bit of it. You know what I mean? I've seen him make that artistic decision to just play the same note as he's bending it and just hold that over and over and over for 8 bars. And the whole place is just moved by it. You can see it in the bar.
Right.
I'm on the drums going, my God, I feel that. And he's only playing one note. The bar probably thinks he's doing something crazy, but he's just really...
Is that CD stuck again?
He's really... Travis communicates so well through his instrument. And that's really what I think all musicians... McCleary is another one that just... They speak well through their instrument, I like to think that I have gained a lot of that in my... Travis always said, dude, if I walk in a bar and you're on drums, I'll know it's you because you just have that style and way of playing. And that's a great thing. I love hearing that. As long as you don't say you hear it sucks. But Travis did the country thing, and I went off in Iowa City, did the independent thing. And ironically, I mentioned Mike Olson, and he plays with Eric Pettit. Well, Eric Pettit was my bass player in Iowa City. So the Burlington clan and the musicianship,
like it all comes full circle.
It's a big full circle. Yeah. Darcy and Eric, she graduated high school before him and moved to Iowa City. Okay. So she was in one of the houses up there. We were all up there. My band's up there. Her boyfriend is in our band. He's only 16. He's still in high school. When he graduates 18, he moves to Iowa City with us. And we got a lot of cool opportunities to play. We played Gabe's and Gunners a lot. We played around Cedar Rapids. We played Des Moines. We traveled around quite a bit. But I was getting in a lot of trouble making stupid decisions. Travis was right here. If he were here right now, he'd tell you some stories. Travis dropped me off on a snowbank in the middle of the winter and just left me there to cool off. Because I'd get so drunk. And Travis really opened my eyes about... Well, becoming a dad opened my eyes, but he made a comment that, dude, I'll tell you what, I love playing with you, and you're so much better when you're not drinking. So the whole not getting drunk, I don't get drunk for shows. You'll see me with a beer, and I'm drinking that beer. That's the first beer I had as I'm heading to the stage, and I'm not getting drunk to feel comfortable. I want to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I embrace the uncomfortable at this point in my life, and it happened 20 years ago. And Travis probably saved me because I was a drunk. It was all about the party for me then, So
you've come a long way then, huh?
I came a long way, and then being blessed with kids definitely helped, and a wife that's more than supportive and musically, and so then Travis and I'd come back from Iowa City and do shows. Travis would have me fill in for his drummer in the Mudcast for Jerry, and then Jerry broke his arm one time, and I filled in for he had that surgery on his elbow. He fell. He worked at GE, and Jerry was a really good blues player, and he also sang a lot of lead. So he had his arm in a sling, and for about 4 months, I was their drummer driving back and forth from Iowa City and to play shows with them down here in the tri-state area down here.
Right.
And playing a lot of blues and a lot of shuffles, but that was a fun band. Terry O'Brien, great bass player. You guys know Terry, right? He played with the Mudcats. He was a bigger, stocky guy, but he's thin. I didn't even hardly recognize him. I saw him over the summer. Him and Mary O'Brien, but Terry played with Mike. Mike Bowen. Travis and Terry, they all had a band together years ago. And I think Mike played with Travis and Quicksilver too, if I remember right. Can't remember, but yeah. Anyway, that was a really good band, really good blues band. That was Travis, and they were a 3-piece. Travis and Jerry and Terry on bass. Great band. And then I always enjoyed coming down and filling in. Jerry would be singing, a great singer, really good singer. And then I was a much busier drummer than him. He kind of just sit in that thing. And Travis and I play so well together that songs become 20-minute epic jams. Jerry would just be standing there. Jerry'd be standing there going, "Is this solo ever going to end?" And what the heck happened? What was that in the middle right there? That ain't even part of the song. Travis and I would just go, and we did that. And we could still do that at any moment when we jam together. But then Travis and I, I'm trying to think what year we hooked up with. Early 2000s, we hooked up with Schwarm, Chad Robbins. Well, let's go back even further. I hooked up with Schwarm before that. I played with Too Far Gone. I played percussion. They hired me to be the percussionist. So Gus played drums and I played percussion. Okay, I'm not a schooled drummer, nor am I a schooled bell player, but I taught myself bell parts by asking Dave what notes he's playing. Oh, Dave, I love you. Yeah, Dave's such a dear friend. I love him and his family, and Dave's one of my best buddies. And
his mom's a sweetheart too.
Oh, Joanne's absolutely a sweetheart. Carol, I miss him. He was a great guy. He's a great. Talk about a fisherman. Him and my bass player Jesse are like two peas in a pod. They live out on a lake. They love to kill things. Yeah. But yeah, Dave, I'd ask Dave, "Hey, what are the notes to this?" Because I hear bells in it. And then I'd incorporate all that. I was just teaching myself by asking questions. And I played congas and djembe and tambourine, and I sang some backup here and there. But that was when I was pretty young then. Then Travis and I hooked up with Dave again. And this is in the 2000s, early 2000s, that we got with Chad Robbins, Chris Robbins, lap steel player, played with David Kroll, played with Heartland. Well, that was Kroll's band. What was the Walker Brothers, maybe played with them. But Chris is a great lap steel player, plays fiddle as well, but his son Chad is a phenomenal guitar player, man. Phenomenal. He's like a mad scientist. And him and I worked really well together musically, but just a great player. We put a band together called the Finger Tree, and we'd play shows and we'd make them all. We'd play 2-hour shows and make everything up. Schwarm would introduce us as, "We're going to play some songs for you that we've never heard." And the people are like, "What? Did he just say they've never heard the songs?" And then we're just jam. We just jam, and we'd make up the thing and go wherever
all the lyrics and everything else were made up too?
Everything. Raymond Smith would sing lyrics on a lot of the stuff. Ray, our good buddy Ray, would sing lyrics, and he'd sit in and play harp with us. And the Finger Tree, yeah. It was 5 guys that were just really free within the music. We'd go wherever it was taking us. We show up one day to practice, like to practice at Robbins.
Yeah, how do you practice that if you're just going to practice and just do something totally different?
You just discuss, "Hey, what key we playing in?" And you go. It's all about, in a musician's sense, let's talk chemistry. You know what I mean? I don't like thinking of people, you better, it's not, like a competition. It's about chemistry, really. You can be the best at something and nobody wants to play with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just plain and simple. So having chemistry, and so when you get together like that, you jam, you're making things up. What you are actually doing is you're connecting your spirit with their spirit in the room. You're really connecting, and there's that communication going on between you, your instrument, and their instrument, and it's all happening right there. So what you're practicing is freedom. You're really getting yourself out of the way. Stop thinking so much about what it is you're doing, okay? Think about what it is you want to hear. Think about what you want to hear and go with that. That's where you want to go. I mean, quit worrying about what time signature you're playing. Quit worrying about, how many notes or what you're doing or what. Just let things start going.
More organic.
Yeah, very much an organic thing. We just would get together and we would just go. They would just take off any key. And you're talking great players. I didn't need to know what key. I'd ask. Nobody'd tell me.
See, that's the thing with drummers, because I played violin in church for like years and stuff like that. And whenever they would sit there and say, oh, we're going to switch the key to this. And then the drummer didn't have to worry about it. And the guitarist, all they had to do is put on their little clip. I'm like, I have to transpose. I have to transpose. You're making me transpose into how many flats? You guys hate me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, okay. I know. Yeah. I would never want to have to do that. There's no way. It's the drummer's thinking about just keeping time, making it feel good, and it's like knowing how to count and knowing how to make that count feel good is how you really translate that into your instrument. Because
making the count actually count.
Good. Make the count actually count, yeah. But I learned from great players, getting to share the stage with so many great guitar players from the time I was young. Definitely playing with Travis and watching him grow. Travis he studied with Needler, when we had the band together. But then he went off and he studied, when he went to SEC, he graduated high school, he went to SEC and they offered a guitar program. Like you could go through an actual and use it. I think he got like 6 credits. Per year, and he did it for 2 years as part of his curriculum. And he studied with Terry Hinesley, who was a great player. He's a great. He passed away a few years back, but great classical guitar player who taught over at the pro shop. Yeah. And Travis's playing took off. He stopped playing Metallica. He was starting to play Miles Davis stuff, like trying to figure out how to play horns parts on guitar, and he was thinking completely different, and all of a sudden it was like, now I'm getting to think differently too, more as to like how I would have been had I not listened to Metallica or any of that rock stuff before. I was on the right path for years. But yeah, then Travis Perry was a senior when I started going to West Burlington, and we became buddies, and he's the reason really Travis got me really wanting to play again. Love that guy to death. His passion for the instrument, like his love for playing drums, like struck it with me, like reminded me, like, man, I want to play drums. I want to get back to practicing like I used to, like get back to playing again like I used to. And you know how him and I met? Funny is, first day of school, my junior year, I transferred from BHS out to West Burlington. Got in a lot of trouble with BHS, but
which is a hard
we won't
thing
talk
to do.
about a lot of that. Well, much better school, yeah. But anyway, don't want to offend anyone out there, but I did much better at West Burlington. I'll just say that, huh?
Transferring into West Burlington as an outsider,
yeah, well,
that's hard.
It was, yeah. I grew up in Mediapolis before that, so I probably should have said I grew up in Mediapolis till 8th grade. We moved to Burlington, so I was accustomed to a smaller school. BHS was so big, I kept getting in trouble. I go to West Burlington. I made friends right away. Band thing, pretty much right off the bat, I made friends, and it didn't take long at all. And my cousin had a cousin on his dad's side of the family, so he wasn't my cousin, but he was my cousin's cousin on the get it. But I'd known him my whole life, and he was a senior when I went out there as a junior. So I had these connections of people, he took me around. I started like knowing people, and Travis is a year behind me, and we hit it off right away. Him and his mullet. He had the long mullet back in the day. It's so great. Yeah, he had quite the mullet going on. I lit that on fire one time. He started singing, I think he was singing Every Rose, and he was playing guitar. He had an old Lotus Electric, and it was heavy as could be. I think that's what he was playing. He probably still has that guitar because it was the first one he ever got. His mom got him, and it was heavy, but it sounded pretty good. But he was like playing that song, and our buddy James Kone, drummer for the Vadens, a band here in town, and one of my best buddies, love the guy to death, and he roadied for me for years in Iowa City. He's there, and we're just goofing off with a lighter. There are no drums in that song at all. Travis backs up right into me in the back. He had the mullet and a rat tail, so that hair went real quick.
Oh.
The whole upstairs, he was so mad at me because he found out his hair was on fire because I slapped him in the back of the head. to put it out.
Oh, Travis. Poor
And
guy.
he still loved me, and he forgave me, man. And he'd be laughing. He told the story right now. Yeah, but it stinks so bad.
Oh.
And great stories, great friendships. But then, I played with Finger Tree. Dave and I did that for probably 8 or 9 years with Robbins. Travis left the band because he went off to do more of his blues stuff, and we brought Mike Mueller in, who is unreal guitar player. If you guys know Mike Mueller, he played with Too Far Gone. He was the lead player in Too Far Gone, so we brought him into the Finger Tree, and there's nothing he can't play. I mean, he's literally that good. He's on another level of everybody, in my opinion, anyone around here. But he's now out in Denver. A great player. He came into the band and took us to really a whole nother level, psychedelic-wise, I would say, more than anything, versus the blues side that Travis would kind of creep us towards. But, I loved them both. I've got hundreds. Schwarm's he told me the other day he's got hundreds of CDs. Because I mentioned, I've got hundreds of recordings. He goes, I've got hundreds of live CDs of us. And I'm like, what? He goes, I have it all. I'm like, him and Ray's got it all too, because Ray recorded everything when we did it. Up above his garage. He built a big studio area above his garage. His garage is huge. Like 4 trucks. You could fit 4 big diesels in there.
No.
Please.
No.
Please.
No.
What happened?
I knew he was going to say that.
I want a garage.
He has a dream.
Oh, I brought up a touchy subject. Oh no.
Yeah.
Let's finish the one dream. I like the RV dream.
Yes.
I think
finishing what he started is a perfect thing.
Yeah, that's got to happen.
We'll get there.
The RV's got to happen. I think that's.
You can't do it in the wintertime.
That's true. You can't really.
You gotta have
Can you just get a heater?
Have a backup plan. That's true.
Yeah, your backup plan is backing it up to the yard.
Okay, like tonight. Okay, we're out in the garage here, which is slightly chilly.
Yep, we're
But
all in
out-
sweaters and
Out in the
I'm pretty
in
cozy,
the
really.
camper that I'm building now, it'd be fine. But then you got to traipse through the snow. Nobody wants to walk through the snow. Just build me a big garage.
I do see that.
That's all I'm asking, huh?
Oh, we have some Legos inside. You can build
The
yourself.
look says no. The look you're getting says no.
The look says, we have a budget.
That's so funny.
Budget schmudget.
Yeah.
You mentioned garage. Oh, that was a bunny trail. Speaking of bunny trails, we'll go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to the King Kong Trail. Doug Vandiver, Amy Vandiver, and Chad Carr. Oh, boy, where were we at?
Oh, we're talking about mullets getting lit on fire.
Mullets got lit on fire. It's a
We were talking forgiveness.
it's a brother that can forgive you for setting his mullet on fire.
No kidding, man. He was more than a champ. Travis, and I'll tell you, Travis's mom and dad were great. I mean, they didn't play musical instruments, but as far as influences on my life, even looking back, they were great influences on us. They supported us musically. They whatever we needed, they were more than quick to go get it. We were playing. I remember Travis mentioning to his mom that a song had a tambourine. There's a tambourine shaking throughout the song, and that there's a tambourine at the Musician's Pro Shop that'll mount to Chad's hi-hat. I show up to rehearsal. I still have and play that same tambourine on my drum set. 27 years later.
Nice.
It was 1994, going on 28 years. Still have it. It's still in great shape. It sounds awesome. Still have that LP. Shout out LP if you're listening. But yeah, Vicky went right out and got that for me, Travis, and I've used it. It sounds all these years. Any gig I've done, it's on my kit somewhere. It's not always on the hi-hat, but it's mounted somewhere on the drum set. It was with me Saturday too, huh?
We'll have to watch when we see you. We'll be like,
you'll hear
where's he
it.
got it mounted now?
You'll hear it. I use it in the middle of rolls, and I'll use it, on some songs at the beginning of the song. I'll use it as the downbeat on 2 and 4. But yeah, we had great support with his parents and my mom and dad, though my parents hated a lot of the music we were playing. My mom thought that Metallica was of the devil, and we were going to go to hell for playing it. But, I look back at it and I go, my mom cared about what I was putting in my ears. And once I became a parent and I started paying attention to what I was listening to, I was a big Tool fan. And then when Taylor was born, I started paying attention. I'm like, did he really just say, get off your cross? How did I miss that? Then I started really diving in. What is he really talking about? And he just had a vendetta against God. And I love the musicianship and I love the songs, but I couldn't listen to it. It was making me somebody I didn't want to be, like as far as depressed and quicker to anger with my tongue. And so as a parent, you become a parent, you look back and you go, my mom was right. She was right. Though Metallica probably is not. They're like Christian music compared to some of the stuff out there now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Metallica's like the first ones in line at the gates, at the gates of heaven versus like Slayer and some of these other bands. But
Well, you know what's funny about you mentioned Slayer. I was just reading an article. Was it Michael Sweet talking about
the Stryper?
Yeah, or somebody was talking about between Slayer and Michael Sweet, that they were saying, Michael Sweet, Stryper, walks the walk. And he says, but then he compares somebody to like Tom, the lead singer for Slayer. He says, they sing all this stuff, but then you find out that he's going to church with his kids. And he says, I'd rather listen to Michael because he's really walking the walk.
He's at least being real.
Where now, granted, maybe that Tom didn't start out that way.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
And if he's going to church with his kid,
I think you can use Alice Cooper as the same. I mean, a lot can be said. He's a Christian and he's still doing his thing and he's still singing about the same stuff.
He went to my home church when he was in Peoria.
Yeah, and he's a great guy, and I like him, and I enjoy his music, and I love his drummer, Glenn Sobel. And he seems like a class act, and I believe that he really has changed. He's a completely different guy. And some people, could be real quick to go, oh, but then why is he still wearing that makeup and dressing like that? That's not. It's like, well, because people wouldn't recognize him if he didn't. That's why. I mean, really, you know what I mean? It'd be like Slash going out of the house without his top hat.
Yeah. But look what kind of impact he can have doing what.
Exactly. That's another way to look at it too.
And he's not going out there, doing it in a satanic, evil type way. He's going out. This is a show. This is Broadway. It's
entertaining. He's not telling you to worship the devil. He's just. But you've got people out there that are too quick to judge. I think that's a lot of the problem in the church. People say, "Well, why don't anybody go to the church?" And what has happened with the church in America and stuff. And I'll tell you what happens is you got too many people that come up and take the hat off the younger person that's come to visit. They put it in their lap, and hats aren't allowed here. Come in and tell the ladies, why are you wearing slacks? We wear dresses here. There's judgment, and I grew up in it. I watched churches split up right here in town. And, my parents were right in the middle of it. And we ended up leaving one church and going to the other because there was a split. And then people just give up on it. And really, church is us as a body. I mean, we're talking church right now, so there's a fellowship here, right? I mean, it's a church is on the move, but as far as people getting together and actually worshiping in a house of God, like we did in the 80s and 90s, people stopped seeing the importance of it because there was so much judgment in the church versus actual, what does Jesus teach?
I was a youth pastor at a church. And no kidding. Well, welcome back. We have here quite a few times, Dead Battery. Hopefully that conversation didn't go dead in the middle and
it went dead somewhere.
Yeah,
bring it back to life.
We've done. The problem is sometimes when the battery goes dead, then
you just don't know when it shut off. Right?
You don't know if that actual segment got saved.
Dun, dun.
So anyway,
well, let's go back. Burnt hair.
Burnt hair.
Burnt hair. We can repeat that real quick. Travis.
Burnt hair. Forgiveness.
1994 lit his hair on fire. He had to cut the mullet, if I remember right. In '95, they came out. Van Halen come out with Unbalanced, the album. Remember that? Was it Unbalanced or what was it? They're on the Teeter-Totter.
Teeter-Totter. Wolfie on, he was on Unbalanced.
Yeah, well, Unbalanced. So I was right on the album. How in the world? I don't know how I remember. But that album had such an impact on us, and Travis went out and got his hair cut like Eddie. And he was full-in guitar player at this point, you know what I mean? And it was the best haircut he had had. He got rid of the mullet, and I think I helped him along with that process.
So it's been
94, 95 this happened, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
We were probably right out of high school. He may have been a senior at the time, I come to think of it. It was somewhere in that area. Time has definitely got away from me.
We were talking about churches.
Yeah, we were talking
a
church.
little bit about that.
Yeah.
And I was a youth pastor at a church here in town. I'm not going to name names. But our wash machine died, and I think it broke on a Saturday. It was laundry day. I didn't have my church clothes cleaned. So I had to wear blue jeans.
Oh, no. Don't do that. You're going to hell, dude.
I hid. I'm working at a church, and I hid because I was wearing blue jeans. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
And it's those very people that would never, when Jesus said, follow me, they would never have followed him because his feet were filthy and all his disciples smelled like fish and had dirt and their feet were gross. They're wearing sandals. They were unkept.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yet
they were on the move.
See, and that's where I always ask a question is when I encounter some of that, and I got to be honest, I went through those when you're like a beginner, when you're new to the faith. Like when I came back to the faith, like I went out and lived in the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And just like the Bible says, my parents raised me right. I became a dad. I started opening to truth. I started thinking differently, voting differently, taking serious my life and the things around me, and situations, and just thinking about things completely different at that point. So I think at first I actually know I was probably a little pushy with it. You know what I mean? Like, don't talk like that. If somebody cursed God, I had to point out to him, hey, you don't need to do that. God doesn't need defended. And it's like, just pray for him. That's what I do now. I just turn it into prayer for him. I don't treat them any differently, no matter what their thing is, because guess what? I got plenty of sin still in my life. I'm confronted with every day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where the church, people stopped. They think that they asked Jesus in their heart, and at that point, you stop reflecting on yourself.
We've got to look at it.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Instead of inward looking, you think you kind of arrived. And I know that I was raised in church. I walked away from church. I stopped even having I wasn't praying. I was living in the world, and if I start praying, then that means I actually am going to hear from him, and I don't know that I want to, because he probably doesn't have a whole lot right now to say that I want to hear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I was a little overboard with it, no doubt, and I had friends that would stood right by me and continued to love me in spite of probably that. You know what I mean? And I'm still friends with those people today, but they've seen a whole different side of me, that I'm not that guy, and that I know the real Jesus of the Bible versus religion that gives me some kind of power to judge you of any kind. You know what I mean? And that's where I was wrong, and so many people in the church really are there. They get stuck in that, I think, is what it is.
Yeah,
get stuck in
it's.
I think
it's a self-righteousness. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, you get kind of a little self-righteous.
If you can point out someone else's, and you don't have to.
Oh yeah, and there was plenty of skeletons. There's plenty of. Yeah, I had plenty of them. So it's like, if I can keep you looking at you, you ain't looking at me. You know what I'm saying? So
sleight of hand. Look over here.
Yeah,
not over here.
Yeah, and what we all have to do, though, is guard our hearts, because it can sour you, like the incident with the jeans can sour you on church. Well, that wasn't God's intention for you. No. He put you in a place to serve. You did your part. You not only did your part, you even showed up with your dirty jeans. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You showed up when it was going to be uncomfortable. And it shouldn't have been uncomfortable. Right? It should never have been uncomfortable, because you were there to serve. What you're wearing isn't going to get anybody to heaven.
And I didn't realize that Dockers were officially sanctioned by the church.
I didn't know that. Apparently apparently they are that navy blue suit coats. Yeah, I don't know. And growing up in open Bible church, they were kind of that way when I was a kid. I remember like my mom would wear, she kind of felt like if she wore slacks and people might judge her. And it's like, I remember that it's like, that shouldn't even ever be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I got older and I came back to Christ and I started thinking I'd figured things out, quickly you forgot, like, wait a minute, don't you remember seeing that from your parents and kind of knowing that ain't the right direction to go? You know what I mean?
Right,
And my mom still can be that way. Don't get me wrong. She very much can be that way, especially if you point out anything that might be needing to change in her life. She is going to point out what you got going on. Love my mom. It is very much the truth. So maybe there's a little bit of me in there. I don't know, and through Christ, I'm squashing it. Maybe I don't know, but I definitely got a lot of her great qualities. That's her empathetic heart. I can definitely sympathize and be there for people and feel pain. I'm quick to empathize with people when they're hurting.
That's so needed right now too.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's not enough of that in the world, and I think that we're all called to it. I've heard people say, well, this guy serves in this capacity because he's called to pastoral care. Well, aren't we all called to pastoral care?
Yes, but it's easier if we say somebody else's because then we don't have
then we don't have that responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's where we're all falling. It's like there's no discipleship. You know what I mean? Society really keeps us so busy that we're always looking at ourselves. It's really hard not to. Our phones are going off, letting us know where we got to be the next 10 minutes. And at least mine's always going off, telling me things I got going on. And
mine goes off, tells me what to do and where to go.
Yeah,
Yours is usually take your pills, take your pills, take your meds.
Yeah, and mine tells me important things like that. Like if I know when April is going to be, off working out, that I can spend my time drumming during that. It's like I make sure to put that in there. Like, you've got this time to do it, so I don't miss those windows. That way I can spend more time with her as well when she's home and not off doing those things. So. But yeah, the church, I remember being disappointed and leaving, friends, being like 10, 11, 12 years old enough to have been baptized by choice, you know what I'm saying? I chose to be baptized at like 11 years old. So I knew Jesus at that point. I had made that choice as a kid, and then to have to see a church of people that you love and you cherish all these friendships, and it's your friends as parents that are breaking away from your parents, and everybody's going in, and it's like, wait a minute, are you all going to go stand in separate lines in the kingdom? You know what I mean? Or really? I mean, there's going to be lines at the gate. I mean, are you going to stand on the other ends and still have this? Are you going to wait till then for Jesus to squash it and actually be the judge and jury right then and there?
You're not wearing the right Christian football shirt.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Packers.
I'm with you on the Packers thing. I think this is their year, though. I think, and I got to be honest. I mean, Rodgers the best quarterback in football. That ain't even debatable.
No.
Brady's the best all time. Rodgers is the best in football right now, and he's win his second in a row, second MVP.
Who's the Bears quarterback? I don't even know who
Fields.
our quarterback.
I say I've
Justin
gone,
Fields.
Okay, he's the best.
I've gone all year.
He can be really good here. Got to give him a couple years.
I've gone a good couple of years of not caring about football.
I really don't watch a whole lot of it. I just I watch the highlights on YouTube. It's that way I don't spend 3 hours in front of the TV.
I seen the Seahawks won their last game, but I don't think it means anything. They don't mean anything to me.
You're a Seahawks fan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm a Bears fan.
Yeah, they had a rough year. Russell, I don't know if he's leaving there or not, but I like Russell Wilson.
And I'm
a Bears fan, too.
I
knew I
See,
liked
I
him.
used to be,
right? As long as we hate the Packers together, man.
I used to be a Bears fan.
I had a feeling when you said you hated the Packers. Like, that's a Bear fan right there.
I used to be a Bears fan, and I had the 34 Sweetness football jersey as a kid.
I found the Super Bowl Shuffle record at an antique store.
I had the 45, the little mini.
Yeah. That's what I got
as a kid.
And I don't even know how much. And when they won, way too much.
When they won the Super Bowl, I was 9 years old, about to turn 10, and Walter Payton was God to me. Him and Jim McMahon were like those guys.
I had the biggest crush on him.
Jim. Oh, he was, well, yeah, because he was a rebel. All the girls thought he was the bad guy. Look at that bad guy.
And that's why we hate the Packers.
Wearing sunglasses and a headband. Now, when people, you remember they always gave him he'd take a marker and write on his headband something to the crowd or to the media, the sports announcers, and it'd be something really smart alecky, like just kind of pretentious, because McMahon was kind of like, he was mouthy and he was rebellious, and people were talking bad about him, so he'd use his headband to talk back.
And that's the only way they could back
That was the only way they could. You know? And he'd get fined over and over again. Now, he's tame when you look at what goes on in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. He's nothing. I mean, he's a saint. If you go look at what goes on now, they've got all sorts of stuff written on them and gold earrings hanging out. They never used to let them even wear earrings in the NFL back in games. Now they all got gold chains on and earrings. And
I don't think I'd want earrings.
I always think that too. That sounds painful.
Running into a 300-pound guy. No, I don't want earrings.
No, neither do I. But they do. You see it on a lot of those guys. Like, how do you do that? Taking your helmet on and off over that? No, thank you.
I lose enough earrings taking a mask on and off. So, I
used to have. Let me see, 4 earrings. I had 3 in this ear and 1 over in this ear. I pierced them all myself. And,
ow!
Yep, and I had my tongue pierced. I didn't do that myself.
Oh, I was like, you did that yourself? Okay.
I took them out many years ago. When April and I got married, I think 2005, like right after that, I took them out. Or maybe it was even the wedding, because they're not in. I'm not wearing them in any of the wedding pictures. So
I had 2 left in my left ear. Nipple ring.
He's allergic to metal.
Oh, ow!
I did this when I was in the Navy. So I was the first guy on our ship. Went out.
He was so cool.
It was 90 something, 92, 93, 94, right around then. Went out to the tattoo shop, got my nipple pierced. Thought I was the coolest thing, but I was allergic to metal.
Oh my god!
And
that had to hurt.
I suffered with it long enough.
My nipple hurts.
And I remember I was driving home from Virginia, back to Iowa on leave, and I pulled over in the middle of Indianapolis on the highway, pulled over in the median, ripped my shirt off, and I pulled that thing out right in the middle of the highway. Oh, to be young, to be young.
Well, I'll tell you, I thought the tongue ring was going to be cool. And it did nothing but rub the roof of my mouth and the back of my teeth and drove me nuts. Because if it rubbed the back of your teeth, well, then it scratches the dang ball, and now that ball rubs the roof of your mouth with the scratches, and your mouth hurts. And after like 10 years with the thing, I just was fed up with it and got rid of it. I had it when April and I got married. She was happy when I got rid of it. She thought it was stupid. She was like, why on earth did you ever get that? I thought it was cool at the time. I was probably drunk. I don't know. I wasn't living all that great at the time. But as far as the church goes, there was a lot of disappointment growing up in the church, and having played music in that church. And fast forward a little bit, when my wife and I got married, we started going to church when that's when we started getting into church. She was raised Lutheran. I was raised in Open Bible. So we returned. We went to Open Bible, the church I was raised in. They still had the same drum set I grew up playing on. So I got to play on that for the last 8 years of Open Bible being Open Bible before we split off and formed City Church.
Now, is that still a thing?
City Church folded. Ken he retired. When Dave Selman, when he moved on and started Hope, he went with him, and he went his way, and I think that the sign was on the wall. I kind of sensed it coming because he took a sabbatical for 90 days, and it was just kind of searching God and going off and doing his thing, time in the closet. Mm-hmm. And I had run into him numerous times, because I used to teach drums out of the building that they rented downtown. The City Church rented from a separate building from the Methodist Church downtown there, and really nice place. I mean, we'd hold worship gatherings down there, and then upstairs there was a studio. We literally had a studio, and I had my drums up there, and I'd teach up there. Did it for a few years while they had it. And but Ken, during his sabbatical, came and talked to me, and I just sensed that without him saying anything, I just sensed that he was walking away, that it was like time, and all the power to him. He's an incredibly, Ken, right? Peterson, what a gifted guy, and loves the Lord. He was such a great friend, and has been a great friend to my family. His kids are great people. I love his kids to death. My wife and I are good friends with Alex, his daughter, and her husband Isaac, and their kids, and we just love the whole family. But Ken, I think, just wanted, he was, just looking. People say I'm called to something, okay? When God calls you to something, he doesn't give you a timeline.
No, that's true.
God can call you to something, and it can be for a season, and then he moves you to something else. And then it's like, and then you got people who go, oh, why do you do that? Well, what? You're not God. Was God supposed to call you up and ask your permission to move on his heart and have him go in a different direction? You know what I mean? So now what Ken does actually sounds really cool when you think about it, because now he travels and helps other churches. He helps build other churches. So he goes in and he actually uses his years of experience in running church, working and helping in the community, doing things within the community to go in and help new ministers developing churches in other cities and stuff. Like he's planted churches in Ankeny, Council Bluffs.
Very cool.
So yeah, he's doing great, and he's happy, and he gets and he also gets to call the shots. That's another thing. See, people don't understand, when you're a pastor, you're getting annoyed, and they would never use that term. And here's why I know this. There's times that I was going through things that I'd called Ken, okay, and never did Ken ever act like I was annoying. In fact, he'd say, "Hey, we want to go fishing tomorrow and talk about it." So there was quite a few times I'd just go do things with him, and take my oldest son Taylor with me, and he just wanted to get me away out in nature, enjoy God's creation, get my mind off of it, and then just through general conversation and stuff. He just has a beautiful way. Ken's a beautiful individual. Him and his wife. I mean, they're just great people, the whole family. But yeah, he had a great impact on me and on the church. And I felt like I feel like what he's doing now is exactly where he's supposed to be. He gets to spend time with he's got grandkids now, quite a few. I think he's had 7 or 8 grandkids now. So yeah, all of his kids have 3. So what is that? Maybe there's 9 grandkids now.
Well, how many kids does he have? If he has 3, and they have to be
3, right? I'm just trying.
I just know his daughter
has 3. No, that's right. He doesn't. He has, because Alex and Isaac only have 2.
Okay.
But the other ones have 3. Kenny's got 3, and Justin's got 3. So both the boys have 3.
Okay.
But yeah, great.
So a lot of grandkids.
A lot of grandkids. And now he gets to call the shots, if he wants to spend time with his family. You don't have people, like I said, annoying you. Yeah, and that's the whole thing, the pastoral care. You get people who look at the minister, and if the minister doesn't stop by their home when they want them, it doesn't call me, and doesn't do this for me, and doesn't do that for me, well, then they're a bad minister.
And they couldn't possibly right now,
and they couldn't possibly really know the Jesus I know. You know what I mean? They couldn't possibly. That's not the same Jesus, because the same Jesus would say, you need to stop by my house and come see me right now. Well, I mean, my goodness, he's a man just like you, right? I mean, you're not to be looking at them that way. And that's where I think a lot of the churches, people going in, look at if there is any discipleship, they tend to look at that person or put them up on a pedestal and forget that person's human, and they're going to make some mistakes, and you got to show grace to the minister too. Why is grace good for you but doesn't apply to them, right? I mean, it's kind of that.
Kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, but I think we all, if we're all being honest with ourselves, that's an area we all probably need to work on. You know what I mean? I know there's times I'm not all that graceful with my kids. They might get on my nerve or do something I don't agree with, and I might be impatient, not necessarily extend the grace. And then later, God always says, hey, what was that about? Did I ever talk to you that way or move on your heart that way? You get that little conviction, which is a great thing. You don't get and that's the difference. I think that we've gotten to a point where people think accountability and judgment are the same thing.
Right.
I can't hold you accountable or I'm judging you. My approach is all that differentiates those two things. If my approach says, you know what you're doing, you're wearing slacks, you're a woman, you don't cover your head coming into church, you're going to hell. That is judgment. Okay, me seeing that you got a drug problem or an alcohol problem, come alongside you and saying I love you. There's something better for you. I don't feel you're heading in the right direction. Okay, now they can take that for what they want, and you might have planted that seed, and it may take a little while, but that's accountability because you want the best for them. You see what I'm saying? It's like
right.
It's the motive. I'm like, if you're looking at and that's another thing.
And it comes from a relationship too.
It comes from a relationship, and I think that's another thing. It's another thing. You said the magic word that relationships are so thin these days, and
very surface,
and cast away and thrown out like a pair of old shoes, and they don't develop the relationship there. So they don't feel comfortable holding each other accountable.
Yeah, well, and I almost kind of think that maybe these last couple of years with the lockdowns and stuff like that, it has become so much harder to have a relationship with a person, to build that time, to be able to stand in that gap and go, you know what, that's not, this, here's an area where you need to be improving. Not judging, but but I think it's a trend that it's going to be seen throughout churches. The relationships are not being built not like they used to be.
But there's a revival. The Bible talks about it. There's going to be a huge. We're going to see something. We're going to see hearts that we talk about, people who had walked with God, who have chosen to walk away from God. We are going to see those people come back because we serve a gracious God who loves and doesn't want to see those people cast away. So the prayer is that it doesn't take something detrimental to bring them to their knees, right? Because that's the thing. It's like generally we all cry out to God when we're in the worst position of our life, right? I mean, you're facing a death in the family, you yourself having a health crisis, whatever the case may be. It's, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just think that's the relationship side of it. People don't get beyond the surface of the relationship to get to the heart, and you got to get beyond the skin, right? To get to the heart of the matter and be able to trust other people and what they have to say, right? I mean, and then you know that they have your best interest in mind. So when you go to them and ask them a question, they're going to tell you the truth. Ted Horn is another person in my life that I haven't talked to him in probably 2 years. I haven't talked to him at all. I know he prays for me. I know he loves my family, and I could reach out to him just like that. And Ted would have an encouraging word, and he'd be for me. There, you know Ted, don't you?
Yeah, his daughter-in-law's my buddy.
I love that. That's another family of great.
I've seen her tonight.
Did you see her?
Yes. She says hi, by the way.
Okay, cool. Hey, speaking of seeing people.
Were you jealous there a little bit? What are you doing seeing my friend?
We're supposed to go have pie sometime together.
Great family. Love Josh and Shane. And I teach Shane's son, Weston, drums. And and Shane's really talented piano player, and singer himself, and Josh played bass in the City Church band. Just a lot of great family. All their kids, we love them. When I see their kids out, we ain't gone to church together in 5 years. All of the kids run up to me anytime they see me and hug me and talk to me, and that's when you know you've made an impact on these people. When they'll, especially when young people will come up to you and show you love and appreciate you, and you haven't seen them in forever. Like Josh's kids are 18, 16, and Noah's 15 or 14. Yeah, he's 14. He's a year younger than Lucas. And those kids still, every time I run into them, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a special thing. It touches your heart. You go, man, I know I'm a sinner and I'm a worthless individual and don't deserve God's love. But moments like this make me go, man, yeah, that's pretty cool. It just, you really almost can't put it into words. I'm struggling to really explain what it does when you encounter those moments and young people or even adults come up to you and remind you of something you may have said to them that in the moment it did something that you didn't even know they needed to hear.
Well, and that's the thing, the things that we say in the moment you don't know, and it's looking back. But we're going to come back to that in just a moment.
Okay.
I don't want other people to have those experiences. It's like, why do we have to do this to each other?
But I
and
think
it can come off as.
Are we back on?
we're on.
Are we back on?
We're back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you know what? Your feelings are real, and they're valid. I guess I would only ask, and I asked this of myself too, is what is God trying to teach me, or what did I learn out of it? What did I learn out of it?
Or how can I teach somebody? How can I
Or
reach
have
somebody else
I-
different? Because
I guess the better question is, have I learned anything yet? Is the lesson still there? And I haven't quite gotten where I need to be. Therefore, I'm still maybe hurt by it. You know what I mean? Because I can say there's things that was said to me in the church. There's been things that said to me by my mom. Her kid who she hoped to grow up to be a pastor goes out and plays in bars. You know what I mean? He's playing the devil's music, and yet my heart's not anywhere in that at all. That's not that it at all. You know what I mean? And I'm very much able to hold church wherever I go and love on people, and I think people
that's
know
because we
that
are
about
the church.
Exactly.
I mean, the church.
There's
a building,
Yep.
and then there's the church that is the actual people.
Yeah, I
mean,
think people
it has-
forget that Jesus would have been hanging out at the bar.
We used to have church right here in this garage.
Did you really? Yeah. How cool.
It was, I can't remember how long ago, but yeah, we did. We called it church in the garage.
Hey,
and
you can hold church anywhere. It could be a locker room. It could be.
It was fun.
I'll tell you,
It could be at Perkins.
it could be at Perkins.
That's where I go
Absolutely.
with you.
And you know what? I've also gotten better at not being pushy with my spirituality and what God's doing with me or whatever. I hope that, in fact, I know that God gives me glimpses all the time of them seeing that more than me having to ever. Because, like I said, I always felt like at times when I came back to Christ and was going to church and was, I thought I'm puffed up chest, and you know what I mean, that self-righteousness that you've arrived, and I think that looking back on it, you realize that you were doing the very same thing that you see every other people doing that you don't like in them. You don't like hearing them being that way. So then you think back to and I remember there was people that didn't think drums belong in the church. I remember that. And it's like, wait a minute. And when you're a young person, you think are they saying I don't belong here? Because I love this instrument. And I feel God gave me this instrument to actually speak something that I can't speak with my mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's my expression of my soul that I can't put into words. Yeah. And I didn't teach myself that, so it came from God. I've never taken lessons at all. I've never had formal lessons or nothing. Music just came easy to me. Did I work hard to be good at what I do? Absolutely work hard at it, and I still continue to work hard at it. And I don't take it for granted, but don't for 1 second think I don't know where the talent came from. It ain't because of me, or I would have quit a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Through disappointments, through people in the church. Oh, drums are too loud. Drums don't belong in here. Rock and roll music has drums in it. Hymns don't have drums, and just hearing that from those uppity people who think that they're going to beat you in heaven, that they're going to have things better than you in heaven because you are not as good as them. You would, you know what I mean? And it's like.
But the tunes of the hymns were borrowed from bar songs of the day.
Oh yeah, old bar folk songs. A lot of them, yeah. They're all in 3/4. Those old folk songs, they loved 3/4. Those old hymns. A ton of them are in 3/4. That waltz, and but yeah, I'd say I'd be lying to say I wasn't hurt with those things at times. I remember even asking my mom and dad, I'm like, why do people complain about me playing, but yet I'm getting the opportunity to? If God didn't want me playing in church, why does he make me pretty good at what I'm doing? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why is it people enjoy what I'm doing and keep asking me to play if these people are hating it, right? So then and
that's where it comes down to people's preference or, more than what actually...
Oh, yeah. Oh, there was people definitely in the church that thought that the only way you could worship God was through a hymn, an 1800s hymn or 1700s hymn. Well, that's and there's still people like that right now that think that if you're the band Skillet, because they are a rock band.
I love Skillet.
I do too. Great band, and they sing great music. They're incredibly talented. They don't shy away from their faith. They tour.
add cello.
They tour with bands that are not believers. They tour with bands that are not believers, and every one of those bands think the world of those guys in Skillet and have never said a bad thing about them because those guys live it. So, but yet, there's people out there, and I remember it, I grew up with them. They thought those people, Striper, what? Yellow and black all over their guitar. And what is it with that pointed guitar? That's a sign of the devil's, the devil's star has those points on it. There's always something they were throwing out there that, now there might have been a lot of truth to some of it. Like I said, my mom would talk down on a lot of the things I listened to at the time in high school. And it turns out she was right on a lot of it. Okay. I'm not gonna shy away from that, but it all everything influenced me in some way or another. But yeah, church was a huge influence on me on so many levels. Resilience, like I was saying, it's like God gave me a love for it, or I would have quit when I was hearing people complaining. I would have been like, oh, well, I'm not going to be that guy that makes that old dude complain about me, and then he's got to go home. He's going to complain the whole way home, taking his wife home because the drummer was too loud, or the drummer. It's like those kind of things. When you're 10 years old, you're 10 or 11. You're thinking like, why would they even think that or say that? But I'm an adult now, so I can understand it a little more. But when you're a kid, you actually think, you kind of take it as they don't want you there. Right. Because this is the thing that God gave me to serve in the church with. I'm not a pastor. I don't want to get up in front of you and speak in a pastoral sense. I feel God gave me this as my instrument. My buddy Darwin Johnson, if you know Darwin, I taught Darwin's son, Caleb, who's a fantastic drummer. He won the Louis Armstrong Drummer Iowa high school year. Great drummer. But his dad, Darwin, good man, great man. Him and his wife are awesome people. And Darwin says to me one time, I was going through a low moment in my life probably 7 or 8 years ago. And he came alongside me and he goes, hey, man, you ever find it hard to talk to God or put things into words? And I'm like, yeah. But I just sense that he already knows what I'm thinking or feeling. He's like, you're called to pray through your instrument, dude. Your prayer language is your instrument. You've never been taught anything by anybody. You just naturally picked up on things. Right. God gave you a passion to dig and learn and to practice and live the instrument. And it's your prayer. And I'll tell you what, from that moment on, in the last 8 years, I've really connected with that. Which, has really taken my playing even to a whole nother level in sensibility musically. The way I think and approach things, which I've always had kind of that sense, but I would say it's sharpened it quite a bit in the fact that now when I'm playing, I'm not just playing for my band or anybody. I'm really just free in the spirit.
Well, let's explore that. As a young musician, I remember when I was playing when I was in high school, and I wanted to be the rock god. And
you had the big fluffy hair for it.
Big fluffy hair, and priorities change over the years. And where is your musical journey? Where is it taking you these days?
Well, I would say that I'm still. Well, let's go back to with McCleary and I, how we connected, because that really leads into where I'm at right now. So Sean Costanza reached out to me in 2010, and he wanted, it was because of Schwarm. Dave wanted, he's like, hey, man. Well, Sean had actually talked to my wife. He saw Finger Tree play at the Washington, and he was blown away. And he asked my wife, who was sitting at the bar, Sean happened to be bartending that night, and he's like, hey, what's your husband up to? I'm putting a band together. He wasn't happy with what he was doing. He wanted a little more rocking and more his age, I think, was a lot of it too. He was just looking for people that would kind of fit his thing. His band were all my heroes. I mean, we'll get into that. Guys in his band were all my heroes growing up, and I love them, and they're all friends of mine to this day, and they came and watched all our shows and they turned out to be fans of ours, which is another cool thing about it. But Sean reached out to me after talking to April, and he tells me, he's like, yeah, I got this guitar player, man. I had him playing bass on my album. And then I fired, I wasn't happy the direction of the guitar playing, so I had him play guitar, and the guy's just phenomenal. And so that's how I met Chad. We all got together at the Washington. Dave Hazel put us up in the basement, and that was our rehearsal space for a while, and until Sean moved into the blues shop. Dave rented the blues shop to Sean, and we rehearsed there, right there at the blues shop, which was great. Hazel was a huge support, but McCleary and I just hit it off. Mm-hmm. We just hit it off. I mean, he was no BS, and he still isn't. I mean, he's just straight to the point, and I love that about him. It can be abrasive with people,
tells it like
I said, you can tell him off. He'll thank you. I mean, it's like if it makes you feel better, do it. But he's got a heart of gold, and his guitar playing right away. I'm like, this guy sings like an angel. Like, holy crap, his harmonies. I'd never been in a band with somebody that his harmonies, like he could hit he could sing perfectly in melody and harmony with Sean. And his guitar playing was just so creative. And I noticed it made me want to be a better player. I would say a more deliberate player. And I use that word a lot in my teaching. Like, you want to be free, but when I say free, you can't get away from being deliberate. You know what I mean? Or it just becomes mud and slop. Things have to still be in control. But when I say freedom, you know your instrument well enough to do whatever you want on it versus just throwing things out there that don't even fit or make sense. So there is still listening going on. Mm-hmm. But I was watching this guy, and I'm like, man, he's playing these complex melody guitar solos, and they're the same. He plays them the same every time, like note for note.
Very consistent.
He comes in prepared. I mean, it's like I play with guys that are, Travis isn't going to play the same solo twice, and I love that about him. That's a whole different. That's a different avenue, and I was so used to that that Travis would he'd take off. Playing with Sean and with Chad and Dave in that band, and Dave and I had been in Finger Tree where it was very free, and then you come in and you play Chad. He wanted it. You were going to play. Everybody needed to be prepared, and it was going to be done the same way every time. If he's going to come to town and put time into the band, then you're going to be prepared. So I think it made all of us raise our bar. And like I said, those guys, he had another band, and those guys all come to our shows and supported, loved our band, because we had nothing to do with them breaking up or anything like that at all. He just was going off looking for somebody more his style and in his age group. That makes total sense. Mm-hmm. So we did that for 3 years. We did that and did a lot of shows and cut a live album, and which I should get you a copy of. I'll have to get you a copy. I think you'd enjoy that. There's some really great songs on there. We did it at the Washington.
That's a great venue.
Yeah, we had Mark Edwards, Mark Edwards, piano player here in town. Probably don't. He hasn't been playing around for a long time. I heard he had pretty bad health, but fantastic keyboard player. But we had him record it there at the Washington. This is 2011, I want to say. But we opened for Pat Travers. We opened for Red, One, and Blue, who I love. My wife and I go and see them quite frequently. And, they're just great band, awesome. But they're out of Ohio.
What band was that?
Red, One, and Blue. Check them out. They're incredibly good. You want to talk about beautiful songwriting and a singer that'll just have you going, his voice. He's just so good. Fantastic band. We're going to see them next month in Chicago. But yeah, we got the opportunity to open for them, and I was hooked on them. They loved our band, and Chad and I went and seen them in Iowa City maybe 2 years later, and they remembered us. And they loved our band and loved Sean Costanza Restless, and we had to tell them, well, that band's kind of folded up. Well, that's when him and I were in the beginning stages of Autumn's Waiting. So that's what brings about, McCleary and I just kept that friendship. And when Sean just decided, he didn't want to put the time into the band, and, band's a lot of work. I get it. And, Sean and I have reconnected in our friendship, and I don't even really want to go down that road because I'm not a guy who holds any, I'm not that way. You don't have to ask me to forgive you. I forgave you already. You know what I mean? I'm not going to let it tear me apart. I'm going to love on you right where you're at. And him and I, we reconnected, and we did the old Couch Festival a couple of years ago downtown. I don't know if you saw that. Swarm and Brian Glasgow. Brian's one of my good friends as well. Great guitar player. Him and Dave, David Kroll, myself, Chris Robbins, and Sean Costanza did the old couch thing and learned all these songs in a week. They called, they messaged Brian, asked me, he's like, "Hey, dude, can you learn all these songs like within the next week?" Yes, and I did. I did. Just like Jake McVeigh getting a hold of me Tuesday this last week and giving me 36 songs to learn by Saturday, and I somehow pulled it off, and then he didn't even play a third of them.
But you never know.
We were playing songs that weren't even on set list, and I'm looking at Chad. I'm like, I haven't heard this. I hope I can figure out where he's going and what he's doing. But those are free moments that I'm not used to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, like I said, very much in Autumn's Waiting, we're very much work. It's let's get things done. The songs have beginnings, they have breaks, they have ends, and they have solo sections, the solos, things. Everything's expected to be played the same way. Every one of us on our instrument, very much. And if we don't, it'll be a train wreck because the songs aren't easy musically. I mean, if you really... So, but then back to the whole thing, how Autumn's Waiting got started was Sean Costanza and the Restless just... When they're separate ways, Sean did his acoustic thing, and he was traveling a lot to Albuquerque, where he's from. He got married. So there were things, he was going in a new adventure. Chad and I said, Chad, we're going to start our own band. Oh, man, what? It's like, yeah, you and I are starting an all-original band. We're going to write our own material, and we're just going to do it. I kept encouraging it. He hadn't even considered it. I mean, it was like, he was just thinking he was going to have to find another band and other people. I'm like, no, we're the band. We will find another band. We'll find a bass player. We'll go do our thing. Mm-hmm. And so we did. We set out on the adventure of finding a singer and a guitar player, which was Jared, who we found and quickly became really good friends with. And we found Jim Gritman, I always say his name wrong, Gritman, great bass player, who played with us Saturday night, which we can get to that later. But that was an Autumn's Waiting reunion Saturday for Jake McVeigh. But yeah. The Chad and I just decided we were going to do write our own music and go in our own direction. And we just found like-minded great players out of the Cedar Rapids area because Chad was living in Washington. So I was driving to Washington, and they were driving down from Cedar Rapids, and we were rehearsing in the studio and writing songs like crazy, which is how we do it now. I mean, we write a lot. Things move pretty quickly in the band. Which is probably why we were always have a hard time finding a replacement for Jared, because Chad would like to have a lead singer and another guitar player. Somebody could cover both those areas. He doesn't want to lead sing. He wants to be able to focus on playing lead guitar because he's having to wear so many hats.
Right.
But I think that people hear the songs and there's so much going on and so many required stops and feel changes and things that it can be a little daunting maybe for somebody coming in. I'll tell you this, if I was a guitar player, I'd probably be scared to play with him. You know what I mean? Just because he's such a perfectionist. I hear his playing and it's always on. I mean, really, he plays those. If you hear him play that solo in that song we wrote, it's going to be that same way next time. It's every dang time. Each song has their own solos specifically for him, which is a blessing, but he's particular, which also makes me rise to the occasion. Jesse, who we can talk about him. Did you need? I thought maybe you were looking over.
No, I'm keeping a track on the battery, and then I'm looking at my clock here, going, well, okay.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, do you need to be? Have we been talking that long?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Wow. You get me talking about music.
This may have to be a part 2 sometime.
Oh, well, we don't have to continue. We can wrap that up pretty quick.
Let's finish your
idea. Well, I was just saying with Autumn's Waiting, Chad and I took a chance and we put the band together, and I probably demoed half of the first album at least, 15 songs. And my wife and I divorced. April decided she didn't want to be married anymore. And that was heartbreaking for me, but I had 2 sons, and I still was in love with my wife, and I felt like maybe the band was a lot of the reason that I was like being pulled away, and it really wasn't. It really wasn't. God had to get a hold of her, and he needed me a part too. He did a lot of work with me in that time too. But I had to step down. I just called Chad up. He came down. We hung out here in town. He came right down. We went out to eat, and we just hung out. And he said, "Man, hey, dude, I totally support you, man. Whatever you want to do, man. It breaks my heart not to play with you." And so I stepped down, and he says, like, "Hey, man, when you're when you're up to it and you're ready for it, you come back. See, now we didn't even have a band name. We just had the band members. We hadn't even named the band. We had all these songs written. We didn't care about a name yet. We just were writing all these songs, and the name was going to eventually come, right?
Right.
Well, I stepped down, and they auditioned numerous drummers in the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and they couldn't find anybody to play what I had demoed. And I was like, Chad, why don't you holler at Travis Perry? I mean, Travis was right there in Cedar Rapids. I was like, why don't you holler at him? Just tell him that I said, hey, man, that I had to step down, and I would love if he jumped in and took it. He's a friend. I know you guys will all hit it off with him. He's in our same age. He's a year older than me, so we're in that, all of us close in age. Mm-hmm. And he did agree, and he did a wonderful job on the album. He did a fantastic job on the album. But then, fast forward, God healed our marriage.
Yay! That's awesome.
And I had plenty of people like, why are you still wearing a wedding ring 2 years into, you guys have been divorced and living apart for 2 years? Because God literally, I had a moment with God in 2014. And he unloaded some things on me. And one of them was, don't take the ring off. Don't go looking for someone else. And don't allow someone else to take your mind and your heart somewhere else. You know, don't be putting yourself out there, basically. Mm-hmm. So I'd go to all the kids' ball games. I'd be right there. Her family, all I'm like, why is he wearing, he's still wearing a wedding ring. I know everybody's. April even told me, like, why are you wearing that? And she'd ask me, like, why are you wearing that? We're not married. And she wasn't ready to hear what God had unloaded on me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward 2 years, and just out of the blue, the prayer got answered out of the blue, and she's just crying. God had opened her heart up, and she's begging me to come over and talk, and our son's crying, and the healing, and so the boys got to give their mom away. We went to Minneapolis, where we had originally got married. We got married, we eloped. We went and got married up in Minneapolis at the Mall of America, and we went there with the boys, and they got to give her away, which was really cool. And very nice. And then I started, before we got back together, Chad and I were already, he was writing songs that were not in the same realm of what they were doing that was straight. And it didn't fit with the band that he was playing in. So he was wanting to offshoot and form another band. And Jared had been talking about doing a cover band. And Chad's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to keep writing music. Uh-huh. So Autumn's Waiting was just going to fold up. They were going to fold it up and not even call it Autumn's Waiting. And Chad and Jesse and Brian Glasgow and I had already started writing all these other songs that were like Life is a Curiosity, which is the Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. That's the one song that those were written when I was divorced, written in the basement of my aunt's house. I was renting. Brian, Jesse, Chad, and I. And Autumn's Waiting, when it collapsed, we had all these songs that Chad and I had written that they were Autumn's Waiting songs. And I was like, dude, I don't feel like we should be giving those songs up. Mm-hmm. You and I wrote those songs together, man. Yeah, somebody else played them on the album. I don't care. We wrote all those things together. So we continued the band as Autumn's Waiting. And, we got Jesse. Jesse and I were playing with Shania Page, Shania Page from Illinois. She was 16 at the time. And Brian was playing guitar, Glasgow. So that's how I hooked those guys up with McCleary. And we started doing our own thing. And then it ended up being Autumn's Waiting. Travis went his way and Jared went his way, and we're all still friends. We all love each other very much.
That's kind of the way of bands. It seems like,
Yeah, I think it was.
You have a season.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I really felt bad. It's like I feel bad because I know Travis did. He worked really hard to step in because they weren't easy songs when we wrote them, and he had to find his own way of playing them because he's not a jazz guy, and there was a lot of weird things that he wasn't about to want to play or try to figure out, and they weren't necessary for the songs. You know what I mean? There were selfish embellishments that I like to throw in there. They weren't by any means making the song any better. They weren't making it worse. So, and he did
they were just making it you.
I said, by he did a wonderful job on it. And he had other opportunities to go play. It wasn't like Travis wasn't going to find other bands to play with. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That new band was a whole new thing because now Jesse and I, who really gel. And just, we don't even talk. Jesse and I don't talk over our parts at all. Paul Miller asks, who is one of my heroes here locally and one of my dear friends. Paul's like, do you guys like spend much time talking out things? Because you guys come up with some really weird, intricate like stuff. And it's like, not at all. We talk about life, what's going on with our families. We don't talk or even listen to music when we drive to gigs, to band practice. We're talking about our families because we're very much involved with each other and we care about our families. Mm-hmm. And then when we get in there, what comes out of us generally is the most honest and what's best for the song. You know what I mean? You just go and polish what for, a lot of times you go back and you polish what came out that first time. And we have to work quick because we do. Chad works quick. I work quick. Jesse works quick. And we had a guy that wanted to come in and play with us. And we wanted him to have like 5 songs done in a week's time. And he's like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. Chad just straight up like, you're not going to be able to play in this band, man? I'm sorry.
We roll quick here.
We memorize things very quickly. We work quick and we move on to the next song. And rehearsals are like that. We'll go in and we rehearse, and we'll drive up to Muscatine, and we'll eat dinner together and talk, and then we rehearse from 7 to 9, and we leave. And it's that schedule. We hit the sets and what we want to get done and go. And if it's a writing session, the writing session's organized. We stay on track and we accomplish things.
You probably have to really do that just because you're so spread out too, and just you have to make that time count.
We're blessed with great wives. I mean, you know what I mean? Our wives are all very, they let us be us, They understand. My wife, if she sees I'm in a bad mood, she's like, have you played drums? you need to go play some drums today. It's kind of that thing, and but having their support, and we get to travel. I pick Jesse up in Meepo because he's a Meepo boy. I pick him up. We just drive right on up to Muscatine and do our thing and come back. Speaking of Jesse,
speaking of coming back,
let's go to.
We got to take a quick battery break, real quick.
Welcome back. Okay.
All right. Quick, easy.
Well, I feel like I'm just kind of rant. Did you have any specific things about it, like the band, or any questions or things about like
no
influences and things of that nature? And
well, I mean, being it is the season of practicing, getting everything lined up, and getting ready for the summer and the spring and stuff like that. I mean, do you guys have any upcoming shows?
Nothing
big
at
things
all
that you're
booked
looking
at the
for?
moment.
Hopefully when it thaws out a little bit.
We'll book up pretty quick, probably come February and March. We'll start booking up pretty quick, spring and summer, because COVID changed everything.
Oh, my goodness.
It used to be as a band, you booked a year out.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the bars aren't even willing to do that. They're only looking 3 and 4 months out because they're afraid they could have to shut down at any moment.
And that's another topic I want to do for. And I reached out to somebody today. Don't want to mention any names in case they don't want to do it. But I want to know, how has COVID changed the music industry? It just in Burlington.
Well, it's made it tough.
And some of the the venues I like to go to.
Yeah.
Not seen open in a long time.
Washington was closed for over a year.
Oh, I know.
And now he
that's such a fun place.
I think he got hit so I think it hit him really hard to the point he's not even doing beer. It's bring your own beer like the blues shop used to be, because it's hard to find or justify value in what unless you know what I'm saying. Like for him to. He's got to charge enough to pay the band that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And then for him to break even probably is a blessing because he may have been losing money. We don't know. We don't know his financial side of it. I know that he was bringing a lot of bands in that had to cost quite a bit of money.
Oh, there was some good bands down there.
Right? I mean, Tommy Castro's not coming to Burlington and playing for free, right? And so
there was Samantha Fish, and there was another band.
Pat Travers. Come on. When we opened for Pat Travers, I was like, man, how in the world is he affording Pat? And then Pat and his band pull up in a van with no hubcaps. They had They pulled up and they bottomed out in the alley next to the wash. There's sparks flying off underneath. It was great.
Wow.
Pat was so cool. What a good dude. I stayed and hung out with him till like 2 in the morning after we all got done playing. We just hung out and got to, really get to know him and hang out with him. The bass player had family in Mount Pleasant they were staying with, so they weren't in a hurry to leave. So they just hung out.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Gosh, Pat's good. So good. He sounded like the same Pat you hear on albums, and they were so good.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little off topic here.
So you're not booking out as far as you used to?
No, we don't. I wish we could, but yeah, right now it's and locally, there's not very many not very many bars that are ready for that commitment for indoor anything. Yeah. And let's be honest, as Chad would put it, we're kind of the redheaded stepchildren of the local band scenes and stuff because we write everything ourselves.
And how does that affect the opportunities you guys get? I mean, because everybody, you want to dance, you want to know, you go into an environment like that, you want to know what are they playing. And a lot of people, a lot of bands,
cover bands or whatever.
Yeah, the cover bands. And there are some really good ones around in town. That
absolutely,
they're a lot of fun. Yeah,
and
great musicians.
They can pack the dance floors.
Yep.
But then you have a band like Autumn's Waiting that, if
I don't think we're a dance floor kind of band. Yeah. I think that there's so much going on, and that people when they hear it, they're like taken in. Like dancing isn't what you're thinking. You're like, what this music sounds great. And what did he just say? Like the lyrics, like you're listening, you pull their stories. A lot of them are based on true events and things that have happened in life, or written from a perspective. Like the Joseph Merrick, that's written from his perspective. And Life is a Curiosity. Well, that's what they didn't call them freak shows in England. They call them curiosity shows. And so just brilliant stuff like that to get people's attention. Yeah, I don't think that we're a dance band, even though our music has catchy hooks throughout it. I don't think we sit in one spot very long during the song for you to just sit there and dance and enjoy it, because it's going on to something else. As generally speaking, it's constantly moving in a different area. So yeah, but there's a time and a place for cover bands. I get it. I understand it. I think that there came a point for me. I was playing blues and rock and roll with Travis, and then I went and played in an all original indie pop punk band in Iowa City, and writing all our own music, getting a taste of being an actual artist versus covering some other artist's music. That's an art itself, don't get me wrong, but you're not creating art. It's art. The art was created by who wrote it. Right. They already did it. You are just replicating it, maybe well, maybe poorly. But for me, musically, I only get satisfied when I've put my stamp on it, and it's been something I love playing covers occasionally, but I don't walk away feeling musically fulfilled. Like I met that void of creating something new that hasn't gotten met. You know what I mean? So that's what I love about Autumn's Waiting, and that's why when Chad and I told him, I was like, we got to do this. Back when Sean Costanza's The Restless broke, I'm like, let's put the band together. You and I, we can do this, and we did it. And we started writing, and we demoed a lot of songs that, the things were already done. So Travis, when he came in, which was awesome that he was able to do it, a lot of things were there for him. He had a palette to work with. Funny story of Chad and Jared. So when I stepped down, Jared pulled a prank on Chad. He told him he had this guy lined up to come try out on drums. This guy was emailing with Chad. Chad was sending the demos of me. Here's the songs, here's the drum tracks with no guitar, just bass, or no bass or anything, just drums, so he could kind of get along, right? Mm-hmm. Then comes the big night that they're having this guy come over to try out. The guy gets behind the drums, and he's never played drums in his life. The whole thing was a prank. And Jared, the guy, like Chad literally, to hear the story, it's so funny that Jared went through this whole thing to set up an email account and to trick Chad, and then to have his buddy come down and pretend that he was the drummer and they count off. Chad's like, all right, well, let's play Scars Can't Heal Time. And he's like, huh? He's like, yeah, count it in. And the guy's like, they start playing, and he's just hitting toms randomly and cymbals. The guy played along with it, you know what I mean? Totally. It's just so funny. And then Chad turned around and robbed Jared when he was on vacation. So when Jared came home, Chad had removed all the couches, the TVs, and everything out of Jared's house. And put it all in the garage. So when Jared came home, but Chad was at his house, knowing Jared had flown into Cedar Rapids. So Chad was there in the basement, hiding in a closet. When Jared was getting on the phone to call the cops, and he comes out, he's like, "No, dude, that's a break." That's how he got him back for the whole. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of goofing off and silly stories like that, but that whole drum, Jared pulling that prank on him was just priceless. How funny, you know.
That's awesome.
To go to that.
They're probably glad to have you back after that one.
Yeah, that's just funny. If you knew Jared, you'd understand. He's a funny guy, and a lot of talent. I really enjoy that guy. Did you have any other questions or anything?
Well, besides the music and things like that, you work at Milestones, right?
I work for Milestones.
And are you still on the board for Heart Song?
I am on the board for Heart Song. Yep. In fact, we have a board meeting tomorrow evening. Heart Song is a beautiful nonprofit we've started up here. Denise Hanks is in charge. Denise is a sweetheart, got a heart of gold, loves people, loves God. It shows.
Tell her I said hello.
I will.
Just like hello.
I actually got recommended. I didn't even ask for this. I didn't ask to be on the board. They came to me, and I got suggested. Which I love it. I love it. It's been a blessing. The people I've gotten to meet through it. But what we're doing out there with Heart Song, it's going to be we use grant money to purchase the old Burlington Care Center in the park, in Dankworth Park.
That's a beautiful location.
Yes. The building needs a lot of work, and we're starting that process and fundraising. We have a fundraising company, an outside entity that is helping with that.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Which is smart, because this is a company that's got a proven track record nationwide of fundraising, and they take a very small percentage. And when it's a small percentage, but when you're talking the amount of money they raise, it's quite a bit of money, right? But we need their help. We really do, because, I mean, it'd be impossible if we didn't do some fundraising to get this up and running. And the idea is to have it be a seniors center that has all of their needs are being met, like a day hab, so they can come in a day center, they can hang out and play cards, they can actually work on health, have a nutritionist teach them things daily, exercise, they can do all sorts of different events, but they're going to be Milestones is going to be in the same building. We're going to be out there.
Oh, you guys are moving from Jefferson?
Yeah, I don't. We are. They're wanting to. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, because they want us right in the middle of the hall, and everybody will be walking right down. Right, it just doesn't sound good to me. I got to be honest. During COVID, I've gotten pretty good with not being around too many people. I've come to grips with it. I'm older. I like my alone time, but I don't get to make those decisions. I'm on the board voting, and doing some of the planning and things, and it's been great. We got a lot of great people on the board, but it's going to be really neat. We're looking at probably, they're talking 6-8 months. I'm thinking it might be closer to a year, maybe December, January, before it's really up and running and everything's good to go, because they're going to have to do the remodeling in sections,
right?
So they'll do one wing, then go do another wing. Milestones is going to have control of the kitchen. They'll be doing their meals program there.
Okay, that's a good idea.
The senior center, I don't think I'm at liberty to really state their decision, or if there really has been a solid decision coming from them, because they were talking about maybe possibly coming out and being. And we want them out there. We want it to be a place where all of these needs for the seniors, they can be in
one-stop shop.
A one-stop shop. There's nothing for them right now other than the senior center, and they don't do much. They don't have the money to do much. Where we're looking at having community funds to do many things that hopefully they'll see value in event, eventually. If right now is not the time for them, then that's so be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what they're being called to. Yeah, I can't hear it, right? Mm-hmm. I just know what Denise is being called to, and I just know God put it in front of me, and I feel like I should be part of this. This sounds like something that maybe you guys could use me in,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I know a lot of people, so
yeah,
that comes in handy.
She was on our program talking about that.
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
It's been quite a while. Yeah, when it was it pre-COVID, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It was pre-COVID
okay.
when we started talking about it.
Over 2 years.
So, when you guys get closer and things like that, because I just know that it's an incredible need in the community.
I think she was on the first year that we did that.
Yeah, she was. I think she was my first interview.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been
my very first interview. Yeah. So
really neat lady that sees the vision,
mm-hmm.
and she's gathered a team. Well, I wouldn't even say she's gathered. I really think that God from what it sounds like, God just brought people to her,
mm-hmm.
and that have strengths where weaknesses. You know what I mean? Like I'm good at things.
Yeah.
The guy next to me is really good at something I'm not great at. You know what I mean? But
mm-hmm.
I've got something covered that he doesn't have covered. And it just seems like the board really has a nice, diverse,
well-rounded.
And I'm not talking diversity in a racial. We have that too, but I'm saying more diversity in our talents or gifts that we've been given.
Mm-hmm.
The gifts we have in front of us, and of course, whether or not you use it. I could have said no to it, but I felt like I got to see what this is about. I asked Denise before I made a decision, will you send me some information on your goal, your vision? She sent me the vision. She sent me the pretty much every motto, the mission statement, everything, and her goals. And when I saw everything, I'm like, well, my God, I can line up and agree with every bit of that. And I totally see the need because I've worked in the mental health field for years. As a case manager, and then I worked as a provider, as a actual director for a program at Hope Haven. I ran their RCFs out there, like the Northwood home.
Oh.
I ran that facility, and then a couple group homes in town as well for Hope Haven. So I've seen a lot of the needs in the elderly. I know this isn't necessarily mental health, but there'll be them too there getting help. And they'll have nurses on hand. We'll have to be required to have nurses out there at Heart Song on hand, which is fine. We've got people. Denise, like I said, people are being brought to her. It's like she comes into board. I can't wait to hear what she has to say tomorrow night, because it's always somebody's. You'll never guess what just came. Like a prayer that got answered. Like this person just got a hold of me and said that they'd be willing to do some part-time hours on the weekend. Well, finding weekend nurses, that's like pulling teeth. You know what I mean? So she's getting help in places we were thinking there might be hard to find help. So things are unfolding, and which is cool, because I know that along the way she's hit a lot of bumps that maybe were really discouraging. The way it's, I can only imagine that she's hit some turbulence along the way.
So it's supposed to be one place, and then
it got moved to another place, and then getting people to see the same vision as you, right? I mean, getting them to see your vision. It's like, how do I sell you on this vision? I mean, but I think that I just know that when I met with her. And I was already leaning towards yes, but when I met with her, I just felt this, like our souls and spirits were connected, and I'm like, who better to have doing this than her? I mean, she really has got the heart for it and sold on it, and just I guess hearing her talk and meeting her, because I had never met her.
Oh, okay.
She had just gotten my name and reached out to me, so, but just having met her, that first time, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm sold on this. We got the right person that's doing this. She's got the passion. God's given her a vision for the community, and the community needs her. They need her and this whole thing to take off and to go really well. So
yeah,
it's going to be a blessing. Timeline, we really don't know yet. There's a lot of work to be done. So, but yeah, we're loving it. Just ironically, I have a board meeting tomorrow. I wish I could have given you a board update, but things are going well. It's that remodeling, and now that it's cold out, it's like, how do you get all these things? Because we need a new driveway put in, because we need a new drop-off location. We're not going to use we don't want the front to be the main drop-off. It will be at first. The old doors to the nursing, and you walked in and you're right there in the the cafeteria and the day hab area. Well, that's going to be a day hab area, and we don't want that door to be constantly opened and to get cold in there.
And it's really hard with those two doors, because we used to take people I worked somewhere else, and we used to take people
stand there
for,
freezing while you're buzzing yourself in, right?
Yeah.
It's cold right there. I know. I noticed that at
is.
the last meeting. Because Denise and I were the last to leave, and so we had to lock the door or the alarm. You had to do the alarm. So she went over and she set the alarm, and you had so many seconds to get out the door. And in the meantime, I'm standing between them two doors going, wow, it's cold out here. It is cold. Like, we need to get this taken care of because, it's really cool. But, yeah, she's got the vision. She articulates it well. And like I said,
it's a beautiful location, too.
What a great location. It just needs some work. And the lady that sold it donated quite a bit of money off of it. I mean, she wanted more for the property than what we paid for it. So she saw some value in what was there, too. Okay, the former owner invested in this as well. She saw value, which is a beautiful thing. She was really, COVID struck them hard because everybody was pulling their family out, and the ones who were staying, she moved to the lady that owns the one in Mount Pleasant.
Right, Savannah Heights.
Yeah, Savannah, there you go. And so she moved those people there because she couldn't staff Burlington's on less people. You know what I mean? I'm about to launch your Zoom up there. But that would be good. Although I know where you can find one to replace it.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd just run home real quick for you. But, so it's definitely on its way, and I can't wait to see what it unfolds for the community. I really do. Awesome. I really think it's going to be awesome. I do. And prayers are being answered in that area left and right. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for it because I know that it's been something that's been talked about in this community for years. Like, even when I was at the old Klein Center over on Madison, they were talking about, and it's just,
it's having a seniors day hab has been talked about so long. Yeah, and I think at one point they intended maybe the senior center to be that, but again, it's like getting nurses, getting licensure to have medical staff in your I mean, that's what Denise is on right now. Bob Bartles with Hope Haven has been a great help with her. He's really helping her along with like getting the Medicaid stuff handled, because Medicaid, it's a Medicaid funded program. So that's like pulling teeth. But who better to, when she was asking questions like, looking, and that's one of my things. It's like when she wants to bring a question, I know so many people. So I said, Bob, go to Bob. But there's nobody in the area more knowledgeable about grants and nobody more knowledgeable about handling Medicaid billing. Go talk to Bob Bartles at Hope Haven. Very knowledgeable guy. And so she did, and Bob's been coaching and a great help with all of that. And, I'm really excited for it. I wish my parents were healthy enough to get to go participate in it because they would have been, I'm still hopeful that they improve, but their diabetes is so horrible. It's got both my parents really bad and my brother. But they could also improve. So I'm hopeful that they could get to enjoy it. Because when I'm participating, I've had them in mind. Like my mom and dad, this is something they could come out here and make friends.
Right.
When you get older, it seems like people get older, their friends are passing. Or their friends have moved south. They retired somewhere else. They
move south.
Yeah, you and me both. Let's all go there. Let's hop in that RV
with
and go.
With a big garage.
Yeah,
oh my goodness!
You're
still bringing up the garage.
A fully heated garage. Hey, I'm with him. A big fully heated garage down south. There you go.
You wouldn't need it heated down south.
You would. You would in the evenings.
We going to Florida?
There you go. Then you might not need it.
Nashville or Florida? I don't know.
Well, why don't you go somewhere between Nashville and Florida? That way you can go see the music in Nashville and you can go to Georgia.
Yeah, we really want to move to Nashville. I was down there in 2010. I did a drum competition. Okay. I was the only guy from out of town. Everybody else was local pros. There was 21 drummers in it. And what a great... I'm friends with all the guys I met from down there. But I'll tell you, I was handed all these showcasing gigs by other drummers. The networking down there, once these other drummers saw me play, they were offering me to go do all these showcasings that they weren't available for. So you go and you play at a record company, you're playing a song that somebody else wrote that they have a woman or a man in mind singing, and you're playing it for the record big guys, the ones who call the shots. Is this going to be a next song that this person sings, right? Is this going to be something we get behind? And they put bands behind it, right? They'll hire bands to come in and musicians to do those showcasing. So, but what I found out real quick is I missed my family, and we didn't want to move. Lucas and Taylor were both in school at the time. Well, we're not taking them out of there by no means.
Right.
We still have intentions of going eventually. I think we're just going to wait and let him, because my passion to play isn't going anywhere, but getting stronger every day. So, and I keep busy playing. So I teach and I do a lot of recording stuff at home for people. I've been working with a guy out of Wisconsin on his stuff, a band called Like Venus, and he's been sending me. I'm demoing all his tracks. Wants to go to Blackbird Studios at some point and record. I hope.
Where's Blackbird Studios at?
That's in Nashville.
Okay.
And Tony, a couple of years ago, 2019, I did an album at Sun Records with Tony Alexander.
Oh yeah,
you guys
yeah.
know Tony, what a great guy. I get a
Have you
message.
been to his restaurant?
Huh? Not the new one down here. Yeah, quite a few times. I haven't been down to his new one. I haven't. It's just
They keep putting up pictures of that pie, and I'm like,
food. Oh, let me just say that Don makes the best desserts I think I've ever tasted. I thought my aunt was good, but Don can whip up some of the most delicious desserts, and Tony's quite a cook. But I tell you what, even the company's better. They're both great people. But Tony and I didn't even know each other really. I'd met him at Parkside Baptist. He saw me play. I filled in for their drummer a couple times, and Tony just liked my playing. And Eddie Hart and I are buddies, and I've known Ed for years. And so Tony, he reaches out to me. I get a message on Messenger one morning, and I'm like half asleep. I mean, I just gotten up. I haven't even had coffee, and I'm trying to read my Messenger, and it says, "Hey, Chad, this is Tony Alexander. Hey, man, I was wondering if you'd be interested in going to Sun Records in Memphis and recording an album with me." And I'm thinking, man, what the hell? My mom and dad took me there as a kid. I remember sitting out front. They got a picture of me sitting out in front of that place.
And now you're sitting
and
inside.
I've been to, I grew up an Elvis fan. I've been to Graceland many times, and it all seemed like, what? Wait a minute. And then once I messaged back, I'm like, is this real? Are you kidding me, Tony? Dude, if this is real, then I'm going. Definitely count me in. And then, because I knew my wife would be all in on it. So, so then we got Paul Miller and Eric Schweitzer to play guitar on it. Paul played bass, and we basically we organized rehearsals and kept things. I had a vision in that sense. Tony did too, but he wanted me to help him along. I don't want to say he needed me so much as I was more focused. Tony gets distracted, God love him, but I'm very much on. When it comes to music, I'm focused. I'm on there's a mission, there's a goal, and I want to see it through. And I'm not going to be happy until it's met. Him and I got together when he asked me. I met him that day at the bean counter. We just sat down, had coffees, and talked. And we just right there mapping out arrangements in our head. I said, let's do a reggae version of Folsom County Blues or Folsom Prison Blues. Let's do some. He was a big UB40 fan. He loves UB40. I'm like, well, let's pick a couple of those and throw them on there too.
Did you do any Ray Orbison?
Huh? We did. Well, he wanted to do Pretty Lady. I said that's too. We didn't do Roy. Come to think of it, we did. We did Johnny Cash. We did Elvis. There was this other English band. I can't remember, something in the Pirates. I'd never heard of them, but it really cool music. I'd never heard of them, which I was surprised because my mom listened to all that old 50s, 60s stuff. But yeah, he played. We did all that as different arrangements. So it's a Sun Records album, and then plus Hampton, which was cool. The guy who was the sound engineer. His dad's John Hampton, who's engineered all ZZ Top, and he
grew up in the business.
He also did "Hey Jealousy" for the Jim Blossoms one. That was his most. He won more awards with that album. His dad did than any other album. And he was on a lot of famous albums, like he did LaGrange, and he did all like this guy John. He worked for Stack Records for many years as an engineer, and now his son's at Sun Records. So I got to work with Pless, is his name. Pless, what a name. Huh? Super guy. We're in there recording. We're in there seriously. I guess for me, Taylor's only moving 4 blocks away. He's between Garfield and Gunnison, just like us, on the same side of the street. His address is 1504. Ours is 1512. He's right. His house is sitting right as ours is, in the middle of the same block. But yet, I just know it's like, oh no, he's all grown up and he's moving on. He's bought his house, and little brother, who they're best friends, they're always together. So Lucas, once big brother goes, Lucas will be right with him. We won't even be seeing him much anymore either. It's like April and I. She's like, "Aren't you looking forward to the freedom?" I'm like, "I don't know what we'll do with it."
Probably go
you
visit.
know what I mean? It's like kind of like when they didn't have sports anymore. Like Taylor graduated. He was no longer doing sports. Lucas started skateboarding and didn't care about travel team soccer anymore, even though he was awesome at it. All he wants to do is jump things and do tricks on a skateboard. That's fine. He's really talented at it, but it was like those having Saturday mornings and all these things back, because I was always having to rearrange my teaching schedule when I'd get a soccer game schedule, like when I got those things. And now I can fill in my teaching schedule and not have to worry about soccer. But you kind of miss those things, as you get older and you see your kids are growing. It's like, man, I really took that time for granted, because it seems to have just flown by. They're older. I'm looking them directly in the eye now. It's like
I'm looking at them like this.
Yeah, I haven't had that problem yet. I think Lucas is going to be. I think he's going to be taller than me. Yeah, I really do. He's shot up like 8 inches in the last year. I mean, he doesn't even look like the same kid. From his freshman year to his sophomore year, he don't look the same.
Let's go ahead and
walk it back in.
Walk it in so we can.
Oh, shoot, I thought we were in. I thought we were already talking.
Hey, we can pull it back in.
Stop me from talking.
Now we're on to kids.
Chad, thanks so much for coming in and sitting down with us. We could probably go on for quite a while, but
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I know
I got a little work
talk
tomorrow.
I'm long-winded. I've never been accused of being quiet. I don't think ever.
But man, you got a lot going on. I'm excited to seeing. Not just the music, but talk about the
heart song,
and stuff like that. That excites me.
It's going to be a great thing.
Good thing for the community.
And I can even see my band doing some stuff with the benefits and stuff. I mean, that's something I actually believe that we'll be doing a lot of helping.
Well,
with
you guys are growing
up,
and you'll need that area too. As
we're gonna need their help here in about 10, 15 years, right?
Oh my goodness,
that's no lie. Although I'll get there before those two. They're younger than me. Jesse's only 41. Chad's 39. I think he hasn't even turned 40 yet. But yeah, I'm excited about it. And we'll be definitely involved in that. I just wish I knew more about a timeline. When you're doing stuff like that, you're
nowadays,
at the liberty of the construction.
Yeah, and with everything going on in the, you had to move from different places, and then you have a place and everything like that. And with COVID, I don't think with timelines. I think it'll happen when it's ready.
Well, I'll tell you what. It took 3 months for the guy we hired. We were 3 months out on siting to re-side the garage, because all your contractors, they're booked. Mm-hmm. They're big, and most of them don't want to take a small, if you got a smaller job, they don't want it. They don't want to patch a concrete on your sidewalk, because there's plenty of people looking for an entire driveway or things to be done. So
right.
That's good for economy, but things are taking, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think we've got Brockway's going to be doing a lot of, and Nelson is going to be doing a lot of stuff for us out there at Heart Song, but they're so busy, But God's got a plan,
Yeah.
We don't run the timing.
I know. Like for me, patience is not my strong suit.
I've never been good at that either. I want it now.
I suck at that.
Yeah.
So I understand the anticipation, but it'll be like Christmas. Eventually, Christmas will come, and you'll unwrap it, and it'll be a brand new place, and it'll be so awesome for the community. So.
And it'll seem like it went fast once you're there. You'll look back, you'll go, oh, really? It didn't take as long as I thought it did.
It's like
just like the kids. You think in the moment, like, God, the soccer game's 3 hours long. But then the next day, you're like, that yesterday really went fast. You know what I mean? In the moment, you thought it was dragging. But when you look back, you're like, man, time is just flying. But as you get older, time does definitely fly faster, I think.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
So does that mean
thanks
I'm old
for
now,
having me. I really enjoyed talking with you guys. I think that's a lot of it's just enjoying the conversation and the like-minded hearts. I mean, it's really the key to it. Yeah, definitely. But thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Well, thank you for
on,
coming.
I
on.
wish you the best in the future of your podcast.
Oh, I
as
tell you
well.
what, when I get the travel camper up and going.
Oh, you got to have Autumn's Waiting come
Absolutely.
on. We'll come on and play some songs for you. Absolutely.
And,
Awesome.
there can be some. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tune in next week, maybe, hopefully. We never know who's coming on or when or things like that. But we will have another guest digging into Burlington and Southeast Iowa. And we will talk to you later. Have a great day.